Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got a great night of monster talk coming up with you, and Brian Kniffel is here to talk all things monsters. If there's a monster out there, if there's a story out there, Brian's chasing it down, and he's going to try and get a picture of it as well. Well, more of a film. We're going to get to him momentarily. Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon night for the first hour. And the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you, including Race Fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee sharing the silver, Kitty Caddywhack with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Little Cam over on YouTube tonight. Yeah, Little Cam is jacked up. He had 40 cans of Red Bull waiting for Brian to get on the show tonight. 40 cans of Red Bull. This guy is juiced, literally juiced. Chris Laker, how you doing? T-Bone, my man. Thanks for coming on in. Hi, Robert Lamoth. Bar Madison has returned. Bar Madison will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Road Flare, Brown Dwarf, Forrest Louie. Nice to see you all here. Hi there, Frankie B. Nice to have you back as we continue on with the roll call. There's our man, Paramarv. Nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming on in. Lulu Bell, nice to have you here. How are you tonight? Hope you're having a good one. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Hello. Little Timmy James. He's in studio, so we can wave at him. Eternity Eternal. Mel WD40. Good to have you both here. Mel will be lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that rigidness. It's not comfortable. You got to go smooth into a show. Brian likes filming and his radio shows to go smooth, so it's extra lube tonight to make sure this one just goes smooth. I guess that's the best way to put it. Yeah. Amanda Carroll, nice to have you here. Kurt M, Cosmic Joe, thank you for joining us. Warden Dragon is back. Warden Dragon will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. High Operation Shutdown, Cool Arrow, purple-haired Pixie Lara, nice to see you all. Pam Harris, Terrence Wills, Kimberly Burgess, thank you all for coming on in. Number 2 in your program, starting on defense tonight from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson, there he is. +8 on the season so far. +8. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got Bigfoots. Christine Lynn, nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call. Al Garay over on Twitch. 2,000 barbell curls tonight. His elbows and forearms are burning right now, but he had to do it to get prepared for tonight's show. Monica, welcome to SOR Chat. Matthew Gutka, Queen Peachy Keen, nice to see you both. Asteroid in the studio, nice to see you both. Hi, J Truth Seeker, Necessary Dialogue, very much appreciate you coming on in. Paisley Parker, yeah, how are you? And Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Manny Soberanes, welcome to SOR Chat, all the way from SoCal. You know, if you drive the I-5 straight up to us, it is only 7 turns. Did you know that, Tim? 7 turns from Tijuana to My house is 7 turns or 7 signal lights. Never mind, like if you had unlimited gas, 7 turns. It's amazing. It really is. Scrolling on down here because I guess I should start the radio side here. Probably should. Scott's Life, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Monster Talk tonight with director, filmmaker, documentarian Brian Kniffel. We're going to get into the Lost Monster Files here in just a little bit. And we have all of you here as well. We are in roll call right now. And up next, we say hi to Hillbilly Herb, Country Carpenter. Thanks for coming on in. Area 53, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support, West. Very much appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for the love. Scrolling on down, Bob Thorson, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. And the original AA Ron, good to see you. Cake and a Cup, thanks for coming on in. And the rest of you, probably going to have to wait here because it's that time of the night where I ask each and every one of you, including you, Polly, and Commonwealth Andrew, to throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. How you doing tonight? My name is Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We've got a power show of Monster Talk tonight. Director, filmmaker, documentarian, storyteller Brian Kniffel is here for the next 2 hours to talk about what it's like to chase down monsters, including the Lost Monster Files, his latest project. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here with another spooky story. Tim James has an anniversary cryptid report, 49 years. 49 years since Travis Walton. Wow. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Let's get right to it. Brian Kniffel is a producer and director known for unscripted documentary projects like The Dead Files, The Mystery at Black Frog Ranch, Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, and Wildlife Nation with Jeff Corwin. His most recent project is starting to take off, The Lost Monster Files. And I'm telling you, I'll be honest, I have not seen an episode yet, okay? But I can tell you this. If you're chasing monsters, that's good television. That is good television for you to check on in. If you have any type of interest in this subject, not the fake shows that are out there that if you hear a fart in the wind, okay, oh, that's a squatch. No, it's none of that garbage. This is true stories, true legends, the way Brian likes to do it, and we're going to bring him in right now. Brian Kniffel, it is great to have you back on Spaced Out Radio, my man. How you been doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Be honest. Let's be honest. You love chasing monsters, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like when they came to me with this project, I didn't have to think very long about it. They told me sort of the general shape of things, and I didn't really need to hear very much. You're going to be going all over the place with a bunch of talented folks, really trying to track down these existing leads.
So many people these days, Brian, are making their own video documentaries on YouTube, on Rumble, on Kick, wherever it is. And so many people are sending them off to Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and Tubi. Is there a real demand that people have for this type of programming?
I think so. I think that's undeniable. And one thing that's really unfortunate is, with the consolidation and sort of the move to streaming overall, a lot of these outlets where people have come to depend on being able to see paranormal programming, sort of cryptid programming, UFO programming, where they used to get it on, History Channel and Discovery and Travel Channel and all these spaces, all those kind of became one family, and now there's just less of it, right? So the way I see it, this is now, a very enthusiastic audience, and it's sort of being underserved at this point. I'm doing my part to change that.
And I love that because, one of my biggest complaints, I watch a lot of these. I do. And I don't get a lot of time to watch television, but when I do, I like to sit down and to me, it's really cool when I can watch a documentary and say, oh, there's Dr. Jeff Meldrum. I just spoke at a UFO or a Bigfoot conference with him. Oh, there's Steve Bassett. I spoke at a UFO conference with him. There's my friend Grant Cameron or whatever it may be. To me, that is a thrill. But the one thing that I've noticed about the majority of documentaries is it's the same people telling the same stories under just a different title. That's what drives me batty, man. It drives me batty.
Yeah, and I think that there's a number of reasons why that happens, and I'd probably avoid discussing most of those. But I think that there's a formula that some people try to emulate, right? And sometimes they get lucky and they get some traction and some attention on basically trying to copy somebody like Zach Bagans, who's had some success with Ghost Adventures or something like that, right? Like he's wildly successful. So then you see a bunch of copycats come out and try to be like him. And I think that, that's just sort of the nature of our time and era.
And I get that. I mean, let's face it, copying is the best form of flattery. Right. Yeah. And I get that. And I can understand when you see something that works, you're going to try that too. So I do understand that. How do you make it different in order to capture the minds of people who've seen so many documentaries or so many television shows, and make it different so that way you can engage them more? How do you solve that mystery?
Well, there's a number of things that I would say. I mean, I think that the first thing is, the number one priority for me is authenticity, right? Like, are these credible things that have happened? Are these, reasonable people who are claiming these encounters, that kind of thing? And it starts with that. If they seem legitimate and their story's consistent and all that, then you've got something to operate from. After that, for me, just like, I get to be there, right? I recognize that, I'm in the field with these teams that are doing this investigative work, but the viewer is not, right? So what I'm always thinking about and working with the camera teams is, how do I get this perspective? How do I translate it from what it looks like here to myself to the folks sitting at home and watching, for the very first time, right? Because by the time it makes it to air, I've watched it 1,000 times, and I've seen it live. I've seen it in an edit bay. I've seen it, a couple of different ways. So I'm always trying to make it as visceral and as cool and as true to the initial experience as I'm able, so that the viewers at home can get the most authentic representation of somebody's firsthand account.
What makes a good story for a documentary or a television show?
So I think that answer would change depending on who you talk to. But for me, most things that I enjoy watching are not really about the thing that they're about. For example, like, I don't know if you were a Breaking Bad guy, but Breaking Bad was not about making methamphetamine, right? It was about a guy fighting for his family. And so the personalities, the personal motivations and consequences that come from the work they do is what's always interesting to me. So, like, yes, the Lost Monster Files is about exploring, old cases, 50-year-old cases of encounters with various types of monsters and unclassified animals. But on the TV show, it's not just about that. There's a second layer, and it's about these scientifically minded, curious people who just want to go out there and figure out what the truth is. So, for me, like, because I'm behind the cameras and not in front of it, I'm living vicariously through them. I'm trying to learn by what they're doing, right? I'm trying to expand my understanding of everything that's going on. And so I think that having sort of people who care, who are enthusiastic, who are open-minded, and just they really want to learn something and make a proper discovery. And I think that that's really what this show's about. And that's what makes a good show to me.
One of the complaints that I have, and I've really formed this after forging relationships with my audience over the years and seeing what they have, is a lot of times it's the same show. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's a UFO documentary or if you watch the 25 or so ghost hunting shows that are out there, and it's the same location, whether it's Waverly Hills, Bobby Mackey's, Gettysburg, Brushy Mountain, Alcatraz, wherever it may be, it's the same locations every single year for every single show. Now, I know I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but I'm not far off. And this is something I know my audience has drew concern about, is that give us something new. Tell us some new stories rather than the same thing, just a different crew going in there time after time after time. How do you find the balance between knowing that that type of location is going to get you ratings, but on the flip side, you take Waverly Hills, which has been shown on TV probably at this point, I think the count is about 8,012 times.
Yes.
Okay. How do you find that mixture of this is a great ratings location, but it's been done so many times before?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me to want to do one of these really famous locations that have been done and overdone, for me to be interested in that, there must be some new angle, some new piece of information that came out, some new experience somebody had. But if you're just going to go back over the exact same history over and over again, and some hacky person's going to come in and say he or she sees the same ghost that everybody sees on every show, then that does feel like a retread, and I'm not interested in that. Now, admittedly, we did do Alcatraz when I was doing the Dead Files. We did do that location, but for the most part, what set that show apart was that it didn't go to all these famous locations. Like very, very few of the locations we did in 200 plus episodes were locations that the public could even access. These were people like private homeowners, private property owners that contacted the Dead Files team and asked them, hey, please come here and tell us what's going on. So there wasn't this deep well of historical research and television archives. And so I think to that show's credit, like that was original. That was a new way to look at a familiar type of subject matter. Now, when it comes to this show, The Lost Monster Files, there's nothing out there like it. So, I mean, I guess like the closest kin might be, I'm trying to even think of a contemporary comparison. I mean, I guess there are elements that are somewhat similar to Expedition Bigfoot, but we're not looking for that creature. We're looking for, a different creature every week. So we're in these very different environments, and we're also following different firsthand encounters. We're following different archival materials that are pointing the team in the right direction. So that's what I think is so unique about this show, is that the springboard by which the team moves into action and starts a new investigation is unique and is unlike anything that I've seen before. And on top of that, we're in locations talking about unclassified animals, monsters, if you will, that I have not seen represented on any of these other programs.
See, and I love that because you're taking it down new direction. You're going into new territory of maybe monsters, because everybody's heard of Bigfoot. Half those people have heard of Dogman. A lot of people are not familiar with forest dwellers, with chupacabra even, or many other creatures like the miniature dinosaurs that are probably running around the forests of Texas and Louisiana and all that. There are so many different cryptids out there that are being seen every year. I think it's exciting that you guys are taking the time to go to those locations with the Lost Monster Files and trying to find what is going on and whether this is figments of imagination, small town legend, or something along the lines of historical value.
Yeah, I mean that's what attracted me to it. And I think that, because the team that is actually doing the investigations is comprised of really sort of, I don't want to call them all skeptics, because they're not all skeptics. Like, Charlie wants to believe in this stuff, Brittany wants to believe in this stuff, but they're all going in saying, okay, we are going in planning to rule A, B, or C out, because we know that these are the predators that live in this area, and it's very possible that somebody could confuse this animal with that animal. And so they're trying to talk themselves out of belief at every stage of the process, because they don't want to be one of those people in the dark shouting at the walls, what was that, what was that, like you see on every show, to the point that you were making. So they're going in there trying to talk themselves out of the various types of evidence that they're coming across. So, they take a very scientific view of all this stuff, and they try to determine, are we dealing with a known creature, a case of mistaken identity? Are we dealing with a Lazarus species? Are we dealing with something new that's unclassified that no one's ever heard of before? So they really are trying to apply the scientific method to everything they're doing. So, the best example that I always come up with is the giant squid was a monster until people figured out that it was real. Right? It was lore.
I want to ask you about this, because I think this is a really interesting question. And considering I'm the host of this show, I get to ask that question. Brian, in your perspective, outside of the Lost Monster Files, what is the television show of our genre that's missing?
Oh, see, I have one that I've written down, but I can't talk about it yet. So I got to think about it. I got to come up with a different answer. But I can give you sort of big picture without giving this concept away, because I anticipate this one being on TV down the line. But I think one thing that's missing is sort of these various connections between heavy UFO activity sites, right? So Eastern Utah is a hot spot, right? You have Blind Frog Ranch is there, Skinwalker Ranch is there. Then you have all kinds of UFO activity down in, New Mexico, some spots in Arizona, even some spots in Southeast Nevada. Like, what is the connective thread there? It's not just dark skies. There's something that must be responsible for that sort of thing. And I don't feel like that's been thoroughly explored. And I'm curious to know what people much smarter than I am would have to say about that. But there must be some connective tissue, right? Like when gold mining companies go out, they know what to look for. They know, okay, when the rock looks like this is when we can expect to find veins of gold in there. And I think there must be some version of that when it comes to documenting UAPs, UFOs, if you're old school. There must be some connective thread. And I think that would be a really cool thing to explore. What do all these places share that makes them such a hotspot for this type of activity?
Have we gotten lazy in our creativity because we know the formula that works, that piques the audience interest, that we don't want to rock the boat, so to speak? I see this a lot in terrestrial radio. And me being a part of terrestrial radio, there's a lot of radio stations out there where they have their show at night. They don't want to rock the boat because they know that works, so they don't want to take a chance on something new. Is it like that in television broadcasts as well?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, I think that if something works, people want to try to squeeze as much juice from that as they possibly can. I think that that's a natural human tendency. But I think also, like with TV, you're squeezed by budgets occasionally. So it's like, okay, well, what cool visual tools can we use that aren't going to break the bank? That kind of thing. So, yes, I think there is some laziness. There is some sort of leaning on old styles and old visual devices and stuff like that. But I think most of the folks that I know are trying really hard to break new ground and trying to get away from the way that even they themselves have done it in the past. They don't want to retread the work they've already done. They want to go into new places. They want to explore new topics. They want to come up with interesting ways to convey that visual information to audiences. So for the most part, I think that the folks in my orbit are trying really hard to continue evolving and pushing the envelope. But there are elements of that out there where it's like, okay, well, if it's going to be on linear television, it needs to fit in this little box and it can't be any longer than 1 hour and that sort of thing. But I mean, I think times are changing there too. There's an increased presence on streaming where we're not married to a clock anymore, and that allows people creating this stuff to be a little bit more flexible with how shows are unfolding, how they're structured. And I think that will be a good thing for viewers everywhere.
We got about 3 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. We're going to get into a lot of monster talk coming up with Brian Kniffel right after the break. I want to ask you just a couple more TV questions, if we could fit it in. With these new genres and the new people that are popping up and everything, the one thing that I like about it, I'm going to be honest, I'm not an attractive man. I am not. I'm a solid 5.3 out of 10.
But you're selling yourself short.
Oh, okay, 5'4". Okay. All right. Okay, maybe 5.5. Okay. But the one thing that I will say that I love about it, this new genre of television, is they've kind of gone away from the Barbie and Ken doll look, and they've brought in more rugged people who actually know what it's like to be in the wilderness. People who are actually, have been doing this a long time, rather than going for that prototypical television look. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm 51 now, and I can't remember a time when I had color in my hair outside of white or gray. But it just seems like there is this transition into just bringing in the facts rather than the Barbie and Ken.
Yeah, I think that's an astute observation. And I think that's a trend that I'm happy to see coming in. And it's something that we paid a lot of attention to when we were first starting to film these investigations on the Lost Monster Files. We have two guys on the show that are both brilliant in their arena. They're wildlife experts. They both have veritable zoos on their own property in Florida. These guys just know more about animals than just about anybody I've ever met. One of them kind of looks like a biker. Actually, maybe both of them do. But you wouldn't look at them and think scientist, right? But you get out there in the woods with these guys, and they can tell you exactly what's walking around out there, what they expect to see, what sort of behavioral patterns they're looking for in the animals they encounter, and it's wonderful because they're against type. You wouldn't look at these guys and go, oh yeah, this guy knows everything there is to know about alligators or crocodiles or lemurs or anything like that. And so we were very cognizant of that. We didn't want them to change anything about themselves, and we didn't want them to feel like they needed to fit into a neat little box.
No, I could totally understand why that would be. I could totally understand that. And I think it's fantastic because it also shows, that everybody is doing this. Anybody can do this. You can go to your local forest and look for Sasquatch prints, or you can go to the locals area where there is no bleeding of the city lights into the sky and look for UFOs. This is something that everybody can do. And I think that's a benefit. Most of us are not going to know what it is because we're not scientists. We're not official researchers. But you know what? It takes nothing, and it costs nothing to go look up in the sky to see potentially something weird. And that's what I love about it. Brian, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Chasing monsters and loving it. Brian Kniffel is here tonight from the Lost Monster Files. We're having a lot of fun with him. He's one of the good guys out there. Let's continue this conversation when we return on Spaced Out Radio. All right, Brian, we are clear.
Cool.
Oh, quick. First half hour.
Yeah, moving right along.
So what else is up, man? Besides doing this?
Oh man, I got a bunch of irons in the fire right now. Stuff that I hope will go. You know, the powers that have the money, I'm hoping they're going to loosen up those wallets sometime soon and start buying stuff again, because I got a lot of projects I like, but I need somebody to get behind it.
How does that work for people who don't know? Because you can produce it, but you still need somebody to fund and buy or believe in the project or buy the project, correct?
Most of the time, yeah. Like I could go self-finance. I could go film a pilot like what you guys have done and just self-distribute. That's just it's a big hill to climb. So what most folks do is they create something to sell their show on the back of. So they'll create a pilot or a sizzle reel or a pitch deck or any combination of those that kind of lays out, here's what each show looks like, here's the people, here's what they're going to be doing. And then, you know, hopefully you get somebody interested enough in that to put some money behind it.
Wow. Is there a lot of opportunity out there, or is it a very picky opportunity? Like, because you have a reputation of being somebody who knows what they want. You know the parameters, you know a lot of that industry, where the majority of us out there are like, well, I could do that. Why can't I do that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got a YouTube channel. I've got a camera on my phone. I've got CapCut, you know, like,
and you can, and everybody can. And I think it's just a matter of, you know, to the point you were making earlier, are you making something new and interesting and unique, you know, with the tools available to you? And if so, go for it, because then I think people will be attracted to that. But if the camera work is worse and the idea is less developed and it's hard to follow when it gets to its final form, then I think it's hard for people to help it grow. You know, and everything's algorithmic, right? If people aren't watching long enough, if they're not sharing, if they're not liking, then it doesn't move, it doesn't snowball. So I think that as long as you can make something good that leaves people either getting questions raised or getting questions answered, I think you can have some success.
I think that's awesome. Let's see what's happening. Dirty Filth, why do you keep getting booted? What's wrong with your computer? Takes him about an hour to figure out how to turn his microphone on.
I don't know. Everybody else seems to be lagging except for me.
What's going on there?
Try to remodulate the phase variance on the EPS manifold here.
It might be something as simple as you're out of fuel. Have you checked your gas tank? He's back on mute again. He's frustrated. We've got about a minute and a half here, bud. I think it's awesome what you do, Brian. I do.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope to do it forever until my legs give out.
Oh, don't worry. I said that in my 40s too, and now I'm 51. Holy cow.
And your legs are still working?
Barely.
Well, if you're running around in the forest of BC, you must be doing all right.
Are you kidding me? I let them come to me. That's not even a lie. The only thing I'm doing, man, is building a fire and sitting in a lawn chair and waiting for them to come to me. I am the most boring enthusiast out there. Which reminds me, Tim. We're lawn chairing on Saturday night. I have people I need to take out there. Oh, okay. So, yeah. We're going out to our Sasquatch spot on Saturday night.
Where is that? Yeah.
Pardon me?
Where is that?
It's about 20 kilometers from here. So what's that? 17 miles?
Okay.
17 miles from here into the forest. Nice area. You would never know. You would drive. People have driven by it for years. Nobody knows it's there. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Director, producer, monster chaser Brian Kniffel is here tonight. He's part of the news program that you can find pretty much everywhere called The Lost Monster Files. When you get into monsters and you're chasing monsters, this is a dream job. This is what Brian does. Whether it's Bigfoot, Dogman, or every mugwump in between, Brian's looking for it. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm itching to get back out there. We have episode 5 of 6 aired tonight, and so we have one next week's the finale. So then hopefully shortly after we get another chance to go do it again.
Before we get into monsters, I have to ask you one thing about television. When did a season become 6 episodes rather than 26?
You know, it's been shrinking as long as I can remember. So, you know, back in the early days of Dead Files, we had seasons that were 25 episodes. And then they just every year got shorter and shorter. So then it was 13, then it was 10, then it was 8. Now most of them are 6. I think just in the streaming era, they give it a go and see if they like how the audience responds to it, and if it doesn't gain steam fast enough, they just move on.
Oh, that has got to be annoying because just as you start to get some, I'll give you an example. Off topic, I'm addicted to this Canadian show about hockey called Shoresy.
Oh yeah, I've had that recommended to me a ton.
Fantastic show. For a lot of American people, unless you're in Minnesota, North Dakota, okay, maybe a little bit in Michigan as well, you may not get the humor unless you live there. But for the rest of us, it's hilarious. And it's like, I'm on season 3, man. And it's like only 18 episodes. And I'm on season 3. And I'm like, I need more. I need my fix. You know, and it's the same way with a lot of these other shows as well. I need my fix. I keep going. You've got my attention. Why do I now have to wait another 4 to 5 months before that next series comes out?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. But in the case of a show like Shoresy, like they at least with that show, they've given it time for it to build an audience and to reach the people who will appreciate it most. So I hope for your sake and for everyone else out there that they keep buying it for years to come.
Oh my God, I hope so. I hope so. What kind of monsters do you like to chase?
I mean, if there's credible people out there that say they're seeing something, I'll go check it out. Like I don't discriminate when it comes to monsters. So it's you know, on the show, I can talk about the ones that have aired so far. We did a bizarre case about people seeing chupacabras in North Carolina, which is a spot that had previously not been thought to be a hotspot or a hotbed of chupacabra activity. So that was cool. We did another one. The closest we got to Bigfoot on this particular show was following one of Ivan Sanderson's case files into the abominable snowman. And we were up actually in your neck of the woods in BC outside of Hope. So not far from Vancouver.
I wish you would have called me. I'd have came down and hung out with you guys, man. I know exactly where you were.
Well, so our team wants to go back. So if we can go back and continue this investigation, then we'd have to have you out for it.
There's a few other locations around that area that you need to check out.
Do you want to say them on the radio here?
I don't mind. If you can get permission from the First Nations, Ruby Creek.
Okay.
And up the highway, another 12 miles is a town called Yale.
Okay. I definitely drove through there.
Yeah. Well, Yale has, if you go back into the 1800s, they actually have a legend of a child Sasquatch being captured.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know how that one slipped by me. That's interesting.
The only thing that I need to know from you right now, Brian, it's the most important question I'm going to ask you. When you were in Hope, did you put your head through the Rambo sign?
No, Charlie did. Charlie Musha, who's on the show, he did. And I never...
Hold on. Charlie denied it.
I'm pretty sure he's got a picture of it. I could be getting my signals crossed, but I didn't see much of the Rambo stuff that was there. But everyone else did. I was just working the whole time.
Othello Tunnels.
Oh, I don't think I went there.
Yeah, that's right in Hope. That's like 3 miles outside of town.
Okay.
Othello.
Yeah, we stayed in Hope. And we were as close to Ruby Creek as we could get without being on First Nations land.
Get permission. I'm going to tell you right now. Get permission.
Well, if it was that easy, I'd be in the Nihani Valley or whatever.
Nihani Valley. Oh God, yeah. Let me tell you, that is one of the dream shoots right there.
Oh yeah, if you can get permission, it'd be incredible.
I may be able to help you with that. We'll talk off the air.
All right.
Not Nihani Valley, but Ruby Creek.
Okay. Yeah, because I just remember the reaction from our team being out that way, like on the Fraser River and in the canyon there. They were very excited about what they came up with evidence-wise. And if I'm not mistaken, the way that episode ends is they're saying, hey, we're going back. We're going to do more on this. So that was one of the more impactful investigations for them. So I think that, if we're lucky enough to get to do it again for Discovery, then that's something that we would consider revisiting.
That is one thing about Bigfoot that I will tell you, that you're in the heartland right there, or the start of the heartland right there. And I can tell you that my encounter happened about an hour east drive of that, where I saw 2 of them within 70 feet of each other. And I know a lot of stories from that area. And you're right in the spot. You are right at the beginning of the heart.
I mean, it felt that way. I mean, I've been in a lot of forests, and being out there felt like, I don't know how to explain it. You know, like mediums can walk into a house and say, oh yeah, there's a lot of activity here. There's something about going into a forest where there's, these apex predators and these sort of unknown creatures that it just has a different feel to it.
The thing, and putting it into perspective, and I'm going to brag here about British Columbia for a minute, and you'll understand, because people do not understand how forested British Columbia is, that you could be absolutely 10 feet into the forest and not even know which direction you're heading. You've been there. You've seen the size of the trees. You've seen the size of the evidence that is out there. If you know what you're looking for, it's massive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's incredible country, and it is just this like impossibly vast expanse of just dense woods. It is a very special place.
That is 90% of the province.
Yeah, I forget the number. It's millions and millions of acres, like enormous.
Where our headquarters is in British Columbia, way up. So from Hope, you'd have to drive another 3 hours north in order to get to where I am. Okay. And if you want to come to my house, if you hit Hope, it's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then into the driveway. 4 turns, 4 signal lights. You want to come over to my house from Hope. And I laugh and jest about that. But the one thing that I love about living in British Columbia is within 20 minutes of everywhere, if you're outside of the Vancouver area, you can be in dense forest where a lot of this stuff happens. And in the Cascade Mountains, where you are searching for this, I don't know if you know this or not, but David Politis's Missing 411, the second highest area of people who go missing under mysterious circumstances is the Cascade Mountains.
It's one of those things like Alaska, right? They call it the Alaska Triangle up there, where people just vanish, and this is like the Cascades version of that. I've seen the Politis video that you're talking about. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy about that. Outside, well, let's talk about the show here for a second, because you did shoot there. What kind of evidence did you guys find in the British Columbia wilderness?
So they found a ton of stuff. So I mean, it starts with tracks, and what they're trying to do, the wildlife experts, is they're looking for known stuff. They're looking for bear tracks, wolf tracks, small cats, that kind of thing. And just kind of working their way up until they can't find anything. But they wound up finding some pretty compelling big footprints. They had a little bit of, I don't think it was rocks. I think it was like stump throwing. Like they were hanging out and started feeling things landing around them. So that was one of the things that stands out to me. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, they found bizarre scratch marks on trees. They found a mysterious red liquid in a patch of snow way up high. They thought it might be blood, but then it was inconclusive. So, but just all kinds of sort of things that don't seem like they belong.
I can fully agree to that, and deep down, I'm really smiling big right now because it's 18 miles away from right where we're sitting. Not your area, but the area that we track. We've had everything there from about 5 different sizes of footprints to bent over trees that are tucked under logs. Tim, our UFO reporter, who's right behind me here, he had a sighting this year, his first ever sighting with one. We've seen a 10-footer in that area. Oh, and let's not forget about the fairies, the orbs, the UFOs that have been in that area. It's like a Walmart for activity, man. Literally.
Yeah, it's a mysterious spot for sure.
How do you pick your locations?
So in the case of this show, of the Lost Monster Files, so the way that this show is framed is everything is started by one of Ivan Sanderson's files. And for those who aren't familiar, Ivan Sanderson is largely regarded as sort of the father of modern cryptozoology. He was a sort of traditionally trained scientist and zoologist, but he was always fascinated by, what else is out there that we don't know about. And so he died in 1973, and his body of work just vanished, for 50 years. And about a year and a half ago, somebody found it in a basement in Kalamazoo. So we had exclusive access to these files. So the team basically looked through everything, every piece of paper, just hundreds and hundreds of binders and artifacts, all part of his body of work. And what they would do is basically cross-reference Ivan Sanderson's files with, any modern sightings that might have aligned with some of the things that Ivan Sanderson was tracking and paying attention to. So the idea is, if you've got a bunch of historical record and historical accounts from a given location, and there's a modern day account, then theoretically you could be looking for the same thing. And so that's sort of the doorway into these field investigations. Is it starts with, you know, a full examination of what Ivan Sanderson found when he was studying this stuff back in the 60s and 70s, and then how that evidence compares with what people are reporting today. And then the team then gets out there and collects evidence of their own.
I love the fact that you are going back to tradition of these traditional investigations. It reminds me what Dave Schrader did with the Holzer files. I think
there are some similarities there. You're right.
No, I think that's great. See, that stuff I love. That stuff, just you saying that totally intrigues me about sitting down and watching the Lost Monster files. It just absolutely, it hits me like with excitement, like, yes, this is what I need to watch. This is where I need to go. Outside of Sasquatch, considering this show has taken you all over the place, what else have you guys been chasing?
So the only one I can't talk about is next week's show. Everything else is aired at this point. But next week's show, I think is probably my favorite experience in the field as far as like being a part of that investigation, because just the wild discoveries that are made, and that's I didn't have anything to do with the order of the episodes and how they air, but I'm guessing it's the finale because of just how bananas the stuff we found was. So sorry to say that and then not tell you what it was, but I can tell you it's in Arkansas. But we were tonight's episode was from Kodiak, Alaska. We're looking for the sea monster of Kodiak. So that's something that's been explored before, you know, but there's different lenses that people look at. So, you know, we were basically creating experiments that mirror similar experiments from Ivan Sanderson's files. So stuff from the 60s and 70s, just applying modern technology and modern methods to that sort of thing. So Alaska is one of those crazy places that just has a feel to it too. So that was fun to get out there and be on the water. And yeah, the ocean is sort of the great unknown. It's outer space and under the sea are the things we know the least about. So that's a cool one.
Yeah, Dave doesn't do the water, man. It's one thing Dave doesn't do is water. You want to know why, Brian?
I'm dying to know why.
I'm a meal. I am a meal. If some sea lion or some shark saw me, I'm not even worried about the sea monsters at this point. But if one of those things saw me, I'm a meal. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Sitting duck.
Yeah. And I don't want to be a meal. That would be a bad way to go. Okay? I would be more happy being in the forest, having Sasquatch rip my arm off and club me to death than being mauled by Megalodon who's decided to go for a cold bath in the Alaskan Ocean. No way, man. I am not bait.
Yeah, those waters are dangerous enough without the animal activity.
You got that right. So if you're heading for sea monsters along the Alaskan British Columbia coast, I ain't going. I ain't doing that episode if I'm on the show, man. Not doing it.
Well, don't worry, we recorded it, so you can check it out without having to set foot on a boat. So you'll be all right. But
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I mentioned North Carolina. We're out in outside of Asheville in western North Carolina mountains, looking for chupacabra activity. Then we went to northern Minnesota, and we were looking for what they call the wild man or the Iceman, one of the most bizarre stories. But it's something similar to a Sasquatch, but more akin to like a missing link type figure. So one of those, that was another one born from these Sanderson files, that just a story too crazy to believe, where, you know, way back when some guy said he killed a wild man, basically a caveman that was living out there in the forest of northern Minnesota, and put it on ice and created a sideshow out of it and was showing people this frozen body. And eventually the law enforcement came looking, said, hey, what if this is a person? Like, maybe this guy's a murderer. And shortly after, the body disappeared. But not before Ivan Sanderson had a chance to examine it and determine that he thought it was real. So that was a cool one. So, not necessarily a Sasquatch thing, but kind of adjacent. But that was a pretty fascinating case. So yeah, we've been all over the place and kind of explored a number of different types of creatures.
As you are behind the scenes of the camera, how do you get to enjoy the evidence of, say, things that are being thrown at you, or coming up and seeing a row of footprints, or whatever it may be?
Well, so different shows have a different tolerance for hearing or seeing crew members. So like people like myself that are typically behind the cameras, like when I did Blind Frog Ranch or Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, occasionally you could hear me talking to the people doing the investigating, because we wanted that to have a really sort of raw aesthetic to it. We didn't want there to be too much editing. So it's like if they walked up on some footprints or something and they'd talk about it, and I had a question that they weren't talking about, I just shouted out, "Hey, what are you looking for? How deep is the footprint? What if it's longer than this? Does that tell you anything?" So like I'm trying to be a proxy for the audience in most cases, and go, okay, what if I'm watching at home? What do I want to know about this thing they're doing? Why is this guy tasting the snow? Why is when he smells the hair, what's the smell going to tell him? So I'm constantly looking for opportunities to ask them questions that they might know the answer to that the audience member might not. So a lot of the time I'm having that experience somewhere in between the viewer and the investigators themselves, because I'm just trying to make sure that what they are discovering will eventually make its way clearly to the folks watching at home.
Do you get scared?
It's hard to say. So there's definitely been some hairy moments in the bush that I didn't feel comfortable. But I think for the most part, like there's so much going on, and it's so exciting, and the adrenaline's pumping. Especially when you think you're on something, when you think that you are on the trail of some creature you've been looking for a week. Like there's a part of it that's scary, but I think that I'm just like charged up. I mean, you go sit in the woods, how exciting it is to have one of those experiences. So yeah, there's some nerves about, because you don't know what you don't know. It's unclear what that danger is going to be, but you might be on the precipice of making a discovery, or at least a really cool observation. So I think that overrides any fear that I might be feeling.
When you guys go out like that, whether it's the British Columbia wilderness or somewhere in the US, do you go out with bodyguards just in case a predatory bear or mountain lion comes out, or say one of these cryptids attacks?
Yeah. So anytime we're in one of these environments, there's somebody that you don't see, sometimes armed, sometimes not, but especially when we're doing experiments where we're, for example, when we were in BC, we did an experiment with, a fish trap, for lack of a better term, where we strung a bunch of fish up in the forest in the middle of the night. So not a great thing to be doing when all these hungry bears are waking up for the springtime. But, we're busy, we're paying attention to what we're doing. Somebody needs to be watching the tree line and making sure that they can get a shot off before anything gets to us. So yeah, they're when we're in those really dangerous environments with lots of predatory activity, somebody's there.
I get that. I can appreciate that, because we're the same way in our area. As I would never raise a pointy stick to a Sasquatch, we still have them there just in case, Papa Brown Bear decides to get hungry right before going into hibernation. Once again, I'm a meal.
Just say, hey, you don't want to be a meal.
No, I wouldn't be a good meal. I would not be a good meal. All right, Brian, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. And I know my audience is going to have some questions, not only about the Lost Monster Files, but also about monsters in general. And I want to know your favorite monster. What do you love chasing down? We're going to find all that out in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Director, researcher, documentarian, filmmaker Brian Kniffel is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a blast with him. I hope you are too. We'll be right back. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we're clear. We're going to turn things over to the dirty one here, Brian. We got about 6 minutes here before we come back here, so I will allow you to take a break.
I can't hear anything again, Dave. Everything's all choppy, but apparently I'm coming in good, so I'm just going to ramble until you get back. My screen's completely frozen, by the way, for StreamYard. You guys are just sitting there solid, like you looked at a Medusa of some sort. Apparently the chat works, though, so it's something's wonky. It may be too late to call the Ghostbusters. Okay, so anyways, UFO hearing next month. Or wait, this month. Next week, rather. So we got the 3 guys going to do the hearing, because there's apparently 3 witnesses. So we have Richard Zara, Eldon Luzo, and Dr. Fad Oraviv. Those may or may not be anagrams of people. Anyway, Hailey Lubell and Love and Vapster and Brown Dwarf and everybody else. Yeah, everything's all mangled. Anyways, don't forget, if you go to Etsy, type in Filthy, F-Y-L-T-H-Y, you can scoop a calendar. And whenever my sample gets in, I'll be able to show you guys. It's for 2025, by the way. And I'll probably end up putting some original artwork on there too. Comes with a certificate of authenticity. Let's see here. What's the old chat? Everybody doing? Hey, it's working now. Oh, nope, spoke too soon. Well, yeah, Juliana, it's just by coincidence. That's how it went. And probably end up having my second book just on Amazon, like the first one. Season some beans with one of my ham hocks. Sorry. Yeah, that's like the Dr. Hook song. He mentions ham hocks and pork chops and vegetable soup. Scratch and sniff calendars. What if they still make scratch and sniff stuff anymore? And it came with scratch and sniff characters, and one of the characters was a boss, and he was just a big pile of puke. It was stinky. They even advertised it as "This game stinks." Oh, I don't know. A man bursts out and just like pulls his arms off or something. Then you got your proof. Well, you know what, Joanne, the good thing about it is it only works for a certain period of time. Hi, Jeff Garvey. Because after next month, then I'll have to do another one. I've kind of actually got a series of these things going on now. I'm just going to eventually die when all my artwork just crashes off the shelf onto me. What a way to go. Sleeping baby. Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the actual picture, not the color. Stickers, eh? Everybody wants stickers. What much it would. I need to get a button maker. That's what I need. So you can have buttons. Everybody likes buttons. Paint by numbers book. I've actually thought about doing just like a coloring book. Ramble. But yeah, coloring book or paint by numbers. I don't know if you could do paint by numbers because I don't know. I think everybody should just have a coloring book would be way better because then you can do however you want. And you don't have the weird little numbers in there making it look all goofy. Refrigerator magnets. Magnets for your computer. Or stickers for your computer. Magnets for the fridge. Yes. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, but if I buy my own button maker, I can make all types of interesting buttons. You could even get cat hair stuck in it. So you could have a button with cat hair in it. Coloring book. Coloring is, it's spelled with a U, by the way, the word color.
All right. Dirty Phil, thank
I
you,
got
buddy.
a friend that makes enamel pins and buttons. I should ask her about that. She's a smart cookie. Well,
all right, brother. Thank you, Phil.
Probably. Have a good night, everybody.
Dirty Filth, everyone. Thank you tonight to Richard, T-Bone, and Area 53 for the great super chats. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to Dutch Hank as well. Here we go with the second hour, everybody. Here we go with the third or second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking monsters with director Brian Kniffel here. And what a great night it is. Monsters. It always makes my night go a little bit better. I hope it does for you as well. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Catacombs. Catacombs is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Brian Kniffel is here. He's from the Lost Monster Files television show. He's a director, researcher, filmmaker, documentarian, and a monster lover. Does it all. Brian, welcome back, my man.
Thank you. I'm enjoying the talk as always.
If you could chase down one monster, one legend, have you ever thought this is something I need to do? Which one would it be?
I mean, there's so many cool ones, but I think that outside of what we've already done on this show, I'd say probably Mothman. Like Mothman is just so fascinating, and I loved the movie when I was a kid. Like that was the book's amazing. It may or may not be real, but it's just so cool that I'd want to go poke around and see what I can figure out.
What is it about the Mothman that kind of intrigues you? Because, we have all of those alleged sightings in Chicago now.
Yeah, the Lake Michigan Mothman, which I wanted to do something on that. I just thought it was wild, like this idea of a migratory Mothman. I don't know why my mind never went there on its own. But when I started reading about it, I was like, oh, this is cool. This story's getting deeper. I don't know. I just like the idea of sort of this very ominous and elusive, and anything that can fly is also like doubly cool because it's just so much harder to track, so much harder to know where to be to see it. It's like people who go looking for thunderbirds in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. It's like Yeah, you can sit and look at the sky all night, but you might not see anything.
How many of these creatures do you actually?
Oh, I don't know that I can put a number to that. I think it's hard because it's impossible to know what you don't know. You know, we were talking earlier about the expansive area of British Columbia, where, I mean, I forget what percentage of BC is actually inhabited. So how much of that land has no human foot ever touched? You know, so we can't know that something's not out there. So, you know, all we know is what people have reported, what people have sort of cooked up in their stories. And, you know, for all we know, that stuff's real. For all we know, there's something totally different that doesn't match up with any of this stuff. So I think there's an infinite possibilities of these things running around out there, sometimes right under our noses and sometimes kind of hiding in plain sight.
The one that scares me the most is Dogman. What have you learned about these werewolf-like creatures?
I've read a lot about them over the years. There's a guy that's pretty deep into the cryptid space, based out of Pennsylvania, by the name of Ronald Murphy Jr. And he's done a lot of writing on the Dogman. And yeah, he's a smart guy and like a really reasonable fellow. And like, so I don't have any reason to dispute anything that he's talked about. And so, like, I don't know. I just try to be as much of a sponge as I can be and absorb all the information I can about these tales. And, you know, if I get out there into those spaces and see it for myself, then I'll be thrilled. But for now, I'm happy to just live with the possibility.
I nicknamed Ronald Murphy the crypto guru.
Oh, you gave him that name?
I did. It was funny because I had just started this show. We're going on 10 years here. I was only about 4 months old into this show when I interviewed Ron for the first time, and his book on the Chestnut Ridge had just come out, and I chatted with him, and we immediately struck up this brotherhood type of friendship. And after a couple more episodes that he came on, because I just love talking to him and the way he can so eloquently talk about these monsters and legends, that I nicknamed him the crypto guru, and it stuck.
Yeah, that one, I've read articles about him referred to as that. And I think I might have teased him about that once upon a time. But Ron makes a guest appearance in one of the episodes of the Lost Monster Files.
Nice.
So he and I had talked over the phone 100 times, and we had kind of become friendly. And I wasn't in the field for this investigation, sadly, but we were doing something in the Chestnut Ridge. And I called him and I was like, Ron, you got to do this. This is our chance. We're gonna finally work together. And so he's actually a part of that investigation.
That is awesome. Awesome. In all the places that you have traveled, what is the spookiest experience or encounter that you have had while filming?
I mean, I think like the entire time in Portlock, Alaska for Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, it always felt dangerous. You know, like there's the weather, there's the terrain, and then there's just sort of, you know, similar to BC, this seemingly endless darkness and unknown. Yeah, there's trees have been felled in every direction in a way that is not, you know, that doesn't match up to the wind patterns, right? Like if you know there's east wind all the time, all the trees should fall this way, right? But then there'll be like one or two that go the other way, even though the wind doesn't blow that way in that part of the world. So, okay, well, how did that happen? And, you know, what's big enough to make that happen? And so I think being in those kinds of environments, just I can't help but feel really, really small, and, you know, to use your term, feeling a little bit like a meal. So, and that place just had a very unique vibe to it. I'll never forget it.
As you're experiencing that, for people who may not have experienced any sort of phenomena, what level of fear or a little bit of mind play does this play on you as the guy behind the scenes watching this all play out?
Probably like the most real fear that I experienced, just because like I hadn't been out there with, I've never gone on these sightseeing tours where you go stand 50 feet from brown bears or whatever. I'd never done anything like that. But we know we're in some of the beariest country on earth. And so there's a scene in one of the episodes in Alaskan Killer Bigfoot where it's snowing super hard. And we had a bear guard that was our bear guard practically for the whole team. Like he was the designated armed guy, but he's also on camera in every single episode. And some of the crew members heard what they thought was a bear cub crying. And so the bear guard, naturally, his antennas go up and he's like, well, if we're hearing a cub, that means mom's close by. And that means that like nobody's safe. Like we need to go figure out if this is really what we're hearing, because you do not want to be in between a cub and a mom. So in the show, like we're following this sound and trying to figure out what it is. And we're walking through just this treacherous forest, climbing up hills, over rocks. And it's been snowing, 6 inches an hour for 3 hours. And I think that was probably the most scared I was out there, because it was like, I thought we were going to find a bear, right? I was like, okay, we're going to find this bear cub. Then what? Then this poor guy is going to have to put down a mama bear if it charges us. But we never saw mama bear. We get deep into the forest and the sound changed. So what had sounded like a bear cub for, an hour or more as we're trudging through the forest, it changed and sounded more like, almost like, I don't know if you ever heard like a moose exhaling. It's really deep. And it went from it's a bear cub to, oh my gosh. When that happened, it was like, oh man, get me out of here. Get me out of here as quickly as we can. And so we never found the source of the sound, but I think everybody that was there was very on edge. Like I remember when we were getting ready to go into the woods, I said to all the crew members, I said, listen, I cannot make you do this. This is very, very dangerous. So I made them all record on camera, so they were on recording, acknowledging that I was not ordering them to do this, because I didn't want them to later say, oh, you made me do this dangerous thing. So I said, you don't have to do this, but we might be on the verge of seeing something here. So if you want to come, we'd love to have you. So but thankfully we had a really brave crew and camera team and an audio team said, yeah, we're up for it. Let's do it.
In our location that we filmed earlier this year, and we filmed last year, we had this year a situation with a Sasquatch following us.
And how did you know?
The intuitive, I'm going to talk less science and more woo here. The intuitive side of myself and Samantha Mowat, we felt it. It was the same area we felt high strangeness the prior year. And when we started touring around that area along the trails, we had just had a torrential downpour for about an hour, and it mucked up the ground pretty good. And as we continued down, if you were to take like a 90-degree angle down from the main trail to another main trail, and Brian, you've been to the BC forest, you understand, we're in the middle of nowhere. There's no people running around. And when we turned there, we could hear something moving in the trees as we were moving. And when we stopped, it stopped. And as we continue on our adventure, there was the stopping looking down on the ground where we stopped, and a 17-inch track that was fresh right there. So we kept going, and we could hear whatever it was beside us, walking through the trees. We would stop, it would stop, until we hit this bend in the trail where it stopped. And all of a sudden we could hear a bear. We saw bear tracks, black bear tracks and everything. So our armed guard was like, come on, bear, come on out and say hello. We got a camera rolling. Come on out and say hello. And we're like, oh God, this is going to be awesome. But as we went back towards our camp, that feeling, we didn't hear it anymore. But, and this is going to sound weird, everything has an energy signature. And if you could pick up on that, that energy felt like it moved back towards our camp. And when we got back to camp and sat down and figured, okay, what are we going to shoot next? Our armed guard was doing a perimeter walk of our tent, and there's another 17-inch print fresh about 10 feet from our tent.
So it knew exactly where you were.
Yep. And then, if I could continue, if you don't mind, following that, so Samantha and I grab a camera and we start walking up the trail towards where the direction this footprint was. And we came by this tree where in 2018, Merle, our paranormal investigator, was in that exact spot when we got chased out by a Sasquatch in that area, or what we believe was. And leaning against that tree was an 8-foot, what I call a staff. We have camera footage of that tree and there being no staff leaning against it. We have, the interesting part about it was the staff was dry. Okay, and we had just had that torrential downpour that soaked everything. The other interesting part about it was there was not a single branch on it. And the other interesting part about it was it looked like it had freshly been twisted out of the ground because the bottom of it had fresh dirt on the bottom.
So is it like a walking stick, you think? What do you make of that?
About an 8-foot walking stick. No word of a lie, an 8-foot walking stick. We came to the conclusion that we believe that was left for Merle because of what happened in 2018. And whatever that was potentially recognized him and left that for him.
That's a nicer interpretation than I think I would have had.
It's just what made sense. Kind of like, oops, sorry for scaring the crap out of you. Because when in 2018, we actually had samurai chatter happen in the forest there.
That's cool. And so what did that sound like to you? That's a trip.
Yeah, that happened twice. So now to really screw things up for you, because I love telling this story, so I'm going to tell it. It's my show. I don't care. And I see you laughing there, Brian. The year previous when we were filming there, we were on that exact same trail and where we found the footprint. And in that area, excuse me, we actually heard way off in the distance about a 15, 20 second Sasquatch roar. I'd never heard that before. We're all wilderness people. We know the difference between a mountain lion, a bear, a rabbit being torn apart by predators, a wolf. We know the difference. And when we came back, we started heading back to our same base camp, which we had this year. We had a very deep guttural growl that lasted about 6-7 seconds from our base camp. Now, from where we're standing when this happened to our base camp as a crow flies is maybe 40, 50 yards, if that. And so I'm watching through the trees as we're busting our butts getting back to our base camp, and I'm watching through the trees as the crow flies, and I see this brown object in the trees. And I'm like, okay, there's no hair on it. There's, what's that shine on the top left corner? Matte brown with light on it. What's the color brown? It's yellow, green, and orange. And we are seeing this yellow, green, and orange reflect, or I'm seeing this yellow, green, and orange deflect the sun off of it. So when I stopped the team and I pointed, I said, what the blank is that? Pointing at it, they didn't see it. What they saw was about a 6-foot extraterrestrial walking through the trees.
How bizarre. So it looked different to you than to them.
I saw the UFO. They saw the alien.
That's interesting.
Oh, dude, this area is screwed. Screwed. I love it. I'd tell you where it is. You could probably listen to other shows and hear it, but I'm very protective of that area.
I get that. That's your backyard.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But I mean, weird things happen in the forest that should not happen. It's weird how in these areas where there is strange phenomena, how you have to be prepared for everything. You may be on a ghost hunt and end up with a cryptid encounter or a UFO encounter. The phenomena just seems to act that way. Have you found that as well?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like there was all kinds of goofy stuff in the skies above Portlock and in BC. I never saw anything that I could concretely say was a UFO, but there's I think in both these shows, like whenever the camera's trained on the sky, there's something weird happening. And it's, I don't know, somebody with a better scientific brain than mine, might be able to explain to me, in a practical way, like what's happening, but it seems incongruous to me. And it seems, like something's going on. So I'm always open to that possibility. And one thing that always sticks out in my brain is we were out in the bush with the great Ron Moorhead, who his claim to fame is he recorded all these Bigfoot sounds in the Sierra Nevada mountains back in the 70s. And we played these sounds through a giant speaker, like a PA system, just pointed it at the forest. We were all standing down on the beach and blasting these sounds into the forest. And the forest went completely silent. And then it just came to life with sounds that I had never heard there before and never heard there afterwards. Like I was hearing bird sounds that sounded like they were from a tropical rainforest, but were, 30 miles from Homer, Alaska. Like the type of animal sounds that don't belong there. So there's just something goofy going on. And those sounds really brought it out.
How many cameras are you shooting with at the same time?
For me, I mean, I can never have too many. Like if I have enough time, I want 20 cameras on everything. I want cameras on the cast members so I can see what they're experiencing, and I want cameras on every angle of the forest, looking up, looking down. But in most cases, there's sort of 2 or 3 primary cameras, plus whatever the cast members are holding. So sometimes they like to have their own camera so they can reference it later, and those are typically night vision cameras that don't need a ton of light. We've also been having some success using thermal imagers from FLIR that allow you to see things when it's totally dark and sort of pick up on things that might otherwise stay hidden. So when you count all those as cameras, you're looking at 5, 6, 7 cameras at a time.
That's incredible. I'd love to have that many cameras. We were shooting with 2.
Yeah, and it's hard to see everything with 2. So like the cameras help kind of act as a second set of eyes.
We got about 30 seconds to go here. Have you caught something on camera that wasn't seen or heard by the crew?
Yes. So I can't give spoilers for Lost Monster Files. There's some crazy stuff that happens there. So I hope people go check it out. But the stuff that's already out, I can talk about. And
hold that thought. Hold that thought. I asked that great question way too late, and that's bad radio form on my part. So I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to pick that answer up when we come back. We got another half hour at Brian Kniffel here on Spaced Out Radio. We're absolutely loving this show. Hope you are too. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
So how does that work, Dave? Is it just are you have to go to break at specified times because of the terrestrial stuff?
Yeah, I have to time everything out.
Okay, so it is just like TV in that regard.
And so what happens, we do a thing where we're a live show, but we're live to tape. And so like tonight's show will air tomorrow night on our radio stations, but I have to time everything out to the commercial breaks that they put into play for us.
Got it.
So so when I leave that little break, like after the music ends with the 5-6 seconds there, that's when I'm editing and I know where to chop my edit to send the
So
file.
you can see the sound waves and know where you've actually.
It's really weird how you get to memorize over time the sound waves of what the start of the segment looks like, what the end of the segment looks like. It's pretty weird, but you memorize it, right?
Yeah, it's like its own language.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really fun. It's really fun. By the way, that sizzle I'm going to send you is from that trip.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh yeah, dude.
This is the kind of stuff I get so jazzed about.
I wasn't scared until our armed guard, my buddy Mark, who is a lifelong hunter. He's been a hunting guide. He's been an animal tracker for critters like wolves, mountain lions, moose, black bears, grizzly bears. This guy's tracked it all. He's had so many close encounters. Like and when I'm saying close encounters, I'm saying like within 20 feet, 30 feet, that like nothing phases him in the forest. And on that night after that, we had that happen, because he's the one who found the print. After that happened, it was probably about 3.5, 4 hours later, we could hear this Sasquatch encircling us, like it was stalking us while we were set up filming. And all of a sudden, something happened. Mark heard something, and I looked deadpan into his eyes, and his eyes had, I'm not going to say fear, but they showed a real concern.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "It's time to go. We need to go now. Pack it up. It's time to go now." And we started packing up. It took us 3 loads to get there in my 2-door Jeep Wrangler. We packed it all in one.
Whatever you can't carry just lives in the forest now.
And then we forgot a tripod up there. So we had to drive back in to get the tripod. And when we drove out, as we'd already cut cameras off, and as we drove out, we drove maybe 30, 40 feet, and there was this high-pitched double tap of a whistle right behind us.
Oh, yeah. So your guard had a finger on the pulse.
Yeah, it was time to go. I'm saying it on the record, I will never go back there at night. It's scary there. It's a very tight area.
I wonder if it's like a nest thing.
No, it's a my theory on it, 52 people died there in 1965.
Okay.
And my theory on it, Brian, is that there are I believe the Sasquatch are the guardians there of the spirits.
Okay. It's like a sacred place.
Yeah. And I think those Sasquatch are taking care of the spirits that still roam around there.
I've heard of stuff like that. Like that's some of the native tribes. That's kind of their view on Sasquatch activity.
Me personally, as we got about 20 seconds here, I don't believe that Sasquatch is I'm not saying it's not flesh and blood, but I think there's something a lot more special about it that we don't understand.
That's kind of where Ron Moorhead lands too.
Yeah.
And I think he knows what he's talking about.
Brian, hold on. We're going to get coming back here in 7 seconds. Thank you, T-Bone. Thank you, Area 53. Thank you, Richard, for the super chats. We're going to get some audience questions next. Hey, Travis. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is underway. We're going to take some audience questions about monsters for Brian Kniffel next. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. Having a blast. Just a blast. And I got good hair tonight. Nice hairdo tonight. Working out well for the radio audience. I can't see that, but my fingers flow nicely through it. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Brian Kniffel is here from the Lost Monster Files. He's a director, documentarian, filmmaker, researcher, and he has a love of all things cryptid. And that's what we love about him. That's why he's here. Brian, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
Right before the break and right before we get to audience questions, I'd asked you about if you had caught anything regarding maybe evidence or images that the crew or yourself didn't find until editing.
So there's two that come to mind, both from Portlock, Alaska. And they both, one of them we noticed in the edit, but the other one we didn't notice until it aired. So I'll tell you the first one. There's two guys standing on the beach talking. They're like kind of debriefing about an experience they had. And you can see the backs of them. And in the sky, it looks like there's a UFO. It looks like a shining something or other flying back and forth, and it just vanishes. There's no edit. It's the same exact shot. It just disappears in the middle of the shot. And the editing team was like, were you guys doing some sort of light effect? Like what's going on here? And I never noticed it. So it wasn't until we looked at the footage that we saw this. The other remarkable thing is there's a shot of the team walking through the forest in Portlock, and we didn't see it live. We had a team of like 10 people at that point. Didn't see it live, didn't see it in the edit, went through layers and layers of approval at Discovery. And it's clear as day, there is something that runs through the frame, huge, dark, can't make out a lot of definition, but you can see it. It's like in there's a Facebook group for that show, and people are losing their minds. They're like, recording the screen on their phones, just going, how did you guys not see this? And we're like, we genuinely did not. We didn't know that was there. We didn't see it live, didn't see it in the edit. And then when it made it to air, it was there. So I don't know how that works, but that was like one of those like really crazy surprises that just kind of left everybody a little bit flabbergasted.
I love when stuff like that happens, that you're so unprepared for. And you look at the film or what you capture with a camera on amazement, like, I can't believe we got that. That's the thrill. That's the juice we're searching for.
Well, that's why you have to look at the footage so closely, because you might not perceive something with the naked eye. And then if you're able to slow it down and look at something frame by frame, it can look a lot different. And so maybe you catch something when you don't think you did. or maybe you see something amazing with the naked eye and it's not so clearly represented in the footage. So I think that's probably a little bit more common. But just getting any piece of evidence that move the ball forward, I think is really cool.
All right, let's move on to some audience questions here. We're going to start off with Joe in California, who is asking, Brian, do you hate the sound effects and stupid music that gets added after the show has been filmed?
The short answer is yes. So, whenever I have any control or any power to influence those decisions, I try my best to do that. My preference is to use music that isn't super heavy-handed. That you let sort of the noise of the scene, the ambient sound, do that work for you. Because anyone who's ever been in a remote forest knows that the silence is scarier than any other kind of music could ever be. But a lot of there's a lot of voices when a show is getting assembled at the end, and sometimes decisions get made outside of my control. So I have to tell myself that they know better than I do.
Yeah. In the end, that's the only thing you can do. Let's go to necessary dialogue. Why do I think monsters are not real? You believe they're real. Convince somebody who might be a skeptic.
The example I always come back to is the giant squid. For centuries, people dismissed reports of the giant squid as the tales of bored, drunken, lonely sailors who were just looking. They're just delusional from being tired, from being at sea too long. And then sure enough, in 2012, a body turns up. And it turns out all these stories that have been told for hundreds of years that everybody said, oh, no, you're crazy. That's not real. It was real, right? So that was a monster. But now it's not a monster. It's a giant squid, and it's classified, and we know sort of what other creatures it's related to. And that's kind of the aim of the Lost Monster Files, is to figure out like these things that we think are monsters, Bigfoot, abominable snowman, chupacabra. Is it something new that we just don't understand? Is it something that we can classify, and then it just becomes an animal, and it's not a monster in the sense of like a Disney movie or like Where the Wild Things Are or something like that? What if it's just another predatory animal that we're just not aware of yet? And I think that's what happens is when there's a limited body of work or evidence on a certain type of creature, it's really easy to dismiss it and say, oh, that's crazy. But the way science works is over time, the evidence piles up and you can see the similarities, you can see the consistencies. And then I think you get yourself closer to an actual discovery, at which point, I guess it's not a monster anymore.
Very true. Very true. Let's move on. Let's go to Hillbilly Herb here, one of the best names we have on our YouTube chat. Brian, what can you tell us about Blind Frog Ranch? We need to know more.
Oh my gosh. So I was only out there for the very first season. So I worked with, Dwayne and Charlie and Chad and Eric Drummond, the geologist. Like that place is wild. I had never heard of it before I was approached to go out there and kind of follow these guys around on their quest to find gold. But there's crazy activity in the skies there. Like Chad, who's on the show, he has these like really high tech, very expensive night vision goggles, and we would just go lay on the ground there and stare at the sky, and whatever's up there is not moving the way that a plane moves or any other kind of aircraft. It's definitely not a satellite. Like you look and they're moving in squigglies across the sky and turning on a dime and going back the other direction. It's nothing a plane or even a helicopter can do. Like there's something remarkable happening in the skies there. I think if there's gold in the ground out there, those guys are going to find it. Like they live and breathe this stuff. So it's exciting for me to get to follow the work they're doing, and even though I don't get to be out there with them this go around, I'm excited to see what they turn up each time.
Let's go to T-Bone. Brian, have you ever been to the Superstition Mountain?
I have not, and I would love to go.
Yeah, that one's on my list. Joanne is asking, I love the episode of the Alaskan Killer Bigfoot when the spiritual medium came by a helicopter and left the next day. Was she really scared?
Yeah, and I think that she was a very talented medium. I think her name was Polly Wyram, and she had lived in the area and was kind of familiar with some of the folklore and sort of the beliefs about the area, the abandoned town, the random bodies turning up, and there were a number of times when she got sick suddenly, and she was like, "Oh, I don't really like this." Now, I don't want it to seem like she was ready to go, but like she was also super willing to help and really there to try to help these guys make sense of this stuff. So I don't ever want to give the impression that she bailed out and like left us hanging or whatever. She hung in there long after she didn't feel well, and got out once the tides receded and the helicopters could land on the beach. But yeah, I think that she was shaken up a little bit by that, but she was doing real work, and I think put herself in an uncomfortable situation, in an effort to try to help us. So for that, I'm really grateful.
Let's continue on here. Go to Queen Peachy Keen, who is asking, what did you mean by allowed to talk about who's keeping you from telling all?
Well, so once a show's completed, the expectation is that we don't talk about the particulars of an individual case or investigation, because we don't want to spoil anything. We don't want to share information about the episode. We want people to see it and experience it, sort of with no expectations, because if I explain something to you here, you've got a notion in your head of what that looks like or how that transpires. When I want this too. This is not just the network folks. Like we want people to get to see it fresh and to have no real expectations of what they're about to see.
Let's continue on. Let's go to Lee in the UK. Good morning, Lee. Do you carry tranquilizer equipment to put a potential cryptid down?
Yes. So
I'm actually surprised by that answer.
In virtually every episode of Lost Monster Files, we had a trank gun with us, and thankfully we didn't have to use it, but it was there in case, because I mean this team will tell you as loudly as they're able, they don't want to hurt anything. All they want is to collect evidence and prove. If they can prove that something exists, I don't think anything could make these guys happier. So I think the tranquilizer gun was always sort of a very wishful, like, if we do encounter this, if we can make it sleep long enough for us to get, a skin sample, a nail clipping, something like that, and then we can send it on its way without harming it. That's the ultimate goal. Photograph it, document it, all that stuff. That's the hope. But we did not get to trank an abominable snowman, unfortunately.
That's too bad. That's too bad. If you're in British Columbia, try the hippie lettuce next time. You might sit in front of the fire and share some stories. J Truth Seeker is asking, have you ever encountered a mimic, like a pale crawler and or giant mantis in the woods, something that can mimic human voices and words?
So yes, in BC and in Alaska. So it wasn't crystal clear like how a parrot would be. Like a parrot can come pretty close to sounding like a person, but what we did hear is what sounded like somebody talking from a distance, and somebody who sounds like a crew member, for example, where you'd be a little bit spread out in the woods and you'd hear something and you'd answer, like, "What's that?" "Oh, I didn't say anything." Like, well, somebody said something. That was a human voice. That was a human sound. But so yeah, I didn't think to attribute that to something like a pale crawler or a giant mantis. But yeah, so there's definitely some weird mimicry stuff that we've experienced.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Moving on. Let's go to Luna. What is your understanding of how technology is tied to summoning the paranormal? Example, Tesla Navigator capturing ghost figures on screen. What about tech causes these figures to appear? Have you figured that out yet?
I I got to admit, I'm not an expert on this sort of thing. So like, usually I'm there to document this sort of stuff, and I have to figure out how to convey, the basic science about what the stuff is doing. I just try to dig back into all the stuff that Amy Allen, the medium from Dead Files, used to say, that there are certain, these are her words, not mine, but there are certain spirits that want to be contacted, that want that interaction for whatever reason. And if there's a tool, if there's a piece of technology that can enable that, and that can bridge that gap and make it a little easier for those spirits or beings to be seen and to have that interaction, then they'll take whatever help they can get. That's what I took away from what Amy told me anyway.
I had once, a long time ago, interviewed Steve DiSchiavi. He's such a nice guy.
Love
He
Steve.
is such a cool guy.
We trade memes all the time about what it's like to be Italian. So
Oh yeah. Polly would like to know, where do you think these entities come from? Do you think they're multidimensional, or are they part of this planet's evolution?
So I don't have a firm position on this, but this is a divisive question in the Bigfoot world. There's lots of folks who are adamant that these are flesh and blood creatures that are just part of nature as we understand it, and are just elusive and difficult to capture evidence of. Then there's folks like Ron Moorhead, who have about as much credibility as anybody in the space, and he believes that they're interdimensional or possibly related to extraterrestrials. I don't think that his position is fully formed on that, but he knows he's seen them. He knows he's recorded the sounds they make, but can't wrap his head around why there's no remains that we're able to find and observe. So interdimensionality is a potential cause for that, right? If these things are going in and out of dimensions, or if they're traveling through space, that would explain possibly why we don't see any remains, or why we don't have a body.
I think they have some sort of fun abilities that they are able to do that. I really do. But that's just me. That is just me. I know I'm in the minority with that one, but I'm going to continue on with that answer because it feels good. Grandizer would like to know, is there a cryptid, Brian, that either you have debunked or just don't believe in, but many others swear by it?
The one that I'm still not sold on is the chupacabra stuff. And I've talked with Charlie Mushaw from Lost Monster Files about this quite a bit. And there are just so many different canine species, and so many ways for dogs to look a different way than we would expect them to. There's crossbreeding, there's all kinds of animal testing that's been done. So to the extent that some weird sort of aggressive dog exists, I fully think that's possible. I have not seen any evidence that that convinces me that the chupacabras are real, at least not in the sort of canine form.
Mine is the Thunderbird.
Oh, don't say that in front of Ron Murphy.
Oh, I know that. Well, Guru and I have actually talked about this. I think people are seeing something, but in my opinion, which means nothing, but in my opinion, I think people, when they see this, are actually looking back in time. Like a wormhole is opened up and they're seeing a film of this creature flying through the sky. Because if it was real, a 40-foot bird would paint the living daylights out of a car, a house, trees, whatever it may be. It would paint that. And we haven't seen any trees being painted like white Christmas trees in the middle of summer, because this bird has pooped all over the place.
That's sound logic. I don't have an argument against that.
Yeah, Guru and I go back and forth on that one. I believe people are seeing something. I just don't know if they're seeing something in this time.
Well, so interesting thing about that, one of the team members on Lost Monster Files is, as I understand it, she's either the only or one of the only women to ever serve as both an FBI agent and a CIA operative. And she was there. She talked to Ronald Murphy, and I don't know if this made the final cut, but she was talking about how there was, secret Air Force testing in the area for a long time, like testing new aircraft that were designed to mimic animal flight, to basically see, can we fly these aircraft without anybody thinking anything of it? Can we make it look enough like a bird that somebody might mistake it for that and not think that we're flying stealth bombers around? So she sort of posited the idea that people could be seeing, some test flights.
Could very well be. Could very, very well be. All right, let's move over to Vanessa here, as we got about 3.5 minutes. What is the scariest animal moment you've had working with Jeff Corwin?
Oh gosh, probably the pythons. Like, I'm not scared of snakes, but I mean, we went with some University of Florida researchers into the Everglades, and they're tracking them. They've got these radio antennas because they've put trackers in these things so they can try to eradicate the invasive pythons. But these things, we were sitting right on top of these snakes. Their transmitters are going insane, and you can't see it. And you are on it. Like the transmitter is beeping like crazy. We know the snake is like under our feet. We can't see it. And we finally get this thing out, and it's close to 20 feet long and 150 pounds. Like, it is just a massive, like it could definitely eat a person my size. And just to know that those things can just be under my feet and I can't notice it, that's a scary idea.
I can totally see where that would be a scary idea. Snakes, Florida, that screws me up. They got sharks, gators, and snakes.
Well, snakes don't belong there. There's some snake got loose after a hurricane, and they've just been breeding like crazy because they don't have any predators.
Final question from our audience tonight goes to Seven Systems. Brian, have you ever come across a dogman?
I have not, but I've also never tried to go looking. That's one that I've never done any direct investigative work with. So hopefully, if we're able to get a season 2 on Lost Monster Files, that'll be at the top of my list.
What do you think the reality of those are?
I don't know. I'd have to do a lot more reading on it, but that seems like they're observed and documented in enough different places and environments that it seems similar to Bigfoot, in that a lot of the stories you read are similar, despite taking place far apart from one another. So that tells me that feels more credible to me than some of the others.
With 90 seconds to go, I want to say a big thank you for you coming out on the show tonight and having you on the show again, man. It's been way too long, and I really enjoy your company on this show, because I think you just come at it at such a pragmatic and practical way of thinking. And I think we need more of that in this field, man.
Well, I always appreciate the conversation. I mean, you do it better than most. So I'm always thrilled to spend this time with you.
Do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find the Lost Monster Files and every one of your other projects.
So the Lost Monster Files is airing on Discovery on Wednesday nights. So the finale episode is next Wednesday, and that's one that I'm really excited about. It's in Arkansas. You won't believe it. It's a wild investigation. So check that one out. If you want to catch up, you can see a couple of episodes on Amazon Prime on the Discovery Channel, and they're also available on YouTube for purchase. So if you're dying to see it all on demand, that's the best way to do it.
And as for you, you just continue your search, my friend, because there is some stuff out there. It's out there, man. And hopefully you and your brilliant camera work can capture it.
I hope you're right.
That's the fun part about it. Even if you don't find it, you're still out in the forest, having fun doing this great continued work. Continued success, Brian. We very much appreciate it. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we go to the swamp. Then right after that, little Timmy James is here with the UFO Report, where we celebrate 49 years of Travis Walton.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Brian, thank you, buddy.
All right,
Really,
thank you, Dave.
I will give you a call here. I got your email, and I will line up that thing to send you.
Oh, I can't wait to see it, man. You've hyped me up. Now I want to dig in.
Appreciate it. We'll talk soon, okay,
right.
bro?
Thanks again, Dave. Bye.
Bye-bye. Brian Kniffel, everybody. Be right back. All right. I am back. Let's get the other camera set up here. Timmy. Timmy. Paul Demon, how you doing? Search and Destroy, nice to see you. Who else has popped in here late? No problem, Grandizer. It was a good question. Woo Poo, nice to have you here. Beyond the Box, nice to see you again. Thank you, Search and Destroy, for that awesome super chat. Very much appreciate the love. Thank you as well to Area 53, Richard, T-Bone, and Major Lee. Greatly appreciate the love, guys. Thank you. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why, Tim?
Because we do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag.
No ugly swag, as I put you on camera there.
Oh. I never know when I'm on. I just see the green light.
You need a green light. That's why I told you. Yes.
Hey, Tim. Hey, Dave. What's up,
How you
man?
doing, bud?
Got the elbow bend. Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Perfect. Dun, 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 dun.
There we go.
Great show tonight.
Great show, man.
Yep.
Great show. Brian's great.
Mm-hmm. And then Charlie fibbed. He did do the Rambo.
He totally did the Rambo. He was embarrassed to say it.
I think so.
Totally embarrassed.
Well, I think all of us have done it.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. A swamp dweller and the UFO report are right around the corner. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Catacombs. Catacombs is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. The woods of North Carolina have always had a certain allure, drawing adventurers and nature enthusiasts alike into their dense embrace. I had heard many tales about these woods, stories of hidden treasures and eerie happenings, but none of that ever really deterred me from planning a weekend hiking trip with my best friend, Emily. We set out early on a crisp Saturday morning, the sun casting long shadows through the towering pines. The trailhead was unmarked, a secret gem undiscovered through hours of research and local whispers. Our backpacks were filled with essentials, and our spirits were high as we ventured deeper into the forest. The first few hours were blissful. The birds sang their morning chorus, and the scent of pine needles and damp earth filled the air. As we hiked, Emily and I talked about everything and nothing, our laughter blending in with the natural symphony around us. Around midday, we decided to take a break and have a lunch by a small babbling brook. The water was cool and refreshing, and it felt good to rest our legs. Afterward, we packed up and continued our journey, eager to see what else the forest really had to offer. It was late afternoon when we stumbled upon a clearing that seemed out of place amidst the thick woods. In the center stood an old, abandoned campsite, the remnant of a fire pit surrounded by weathered logs, suggested it had yet to be used in years. Tattered tents, their fabric shredded by time and the elements, flapped gently in the breeze. "Whoa, look at this," Emily said, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Yeah, it's like something out of a horror movie," I replied, half-jokingly. We explored the campsite cautiously, the eerie silence growing more pronounced with each step. There was a sense of unease that settled over me, but I brushed it off as nothing more than my imagination running wild. "Hey, check this out," Emily called from one of the other tents. She held up an old, water-damaged journal. The pages were brittle and yellowed, but the handwriting was still legible. "What you got there?" I asked, peering over her shoulder. It's a journal. It's looked like it belonged to somebody named Sarah," Emily said, flipping through the pages. "She talks about something here with her friends, probably a camping trip if I had to guess." After some time, the writing got weird, and it's hard to explain just how weird. It became more and more illegible, almost like the thoughts were just kind of rambling on. A chill ran down my spine. "Let's keep moving. This place is giving me the creeps." We packed up quickly, leaving the abandoned campsite behind. As we made our way back to the trail, the forest seemed to close in around us. The once inviting trees now loomed ominously. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long, twisting shadows. An hour passed, and the unsettling feeling only grew stronger. The forest was unnaturally quiet, as if it were holding its breath. Then, faintly, at first, I heard it. A whispering, barely audible but unmistakable. "Did you hear that?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "Yeah, I did," I whispered back, straining to pinpoint the source. The whispering grew louder, a chorus of hushed voices murmuring words we couldn't quite understand. Panic set in, and we quickened our pace, the trail becoming more challenging to follow in the dimming light. Suddenly, the whispering stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. We paused, our breaths ragged, listening intently. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement, a shadow darting between the trees. "Run!" I shouted, grabbing Emily's hand. We sprinted through the forest, the shadow seeming to chase us. The path was almost invisible now, but we didn't care. We just needed to get out of here. Branches scratched at our faces, and the underbrush clawed at our legs, but we didn't stop. After what felt like an eternity, we burst out of the woods and into the clearing. The evening sky a welcoming sight. We collapsed to the ground, gasping for air, our hearts pounding. "What was that?" Emily panted, her eyes wide with fear. "I don't know, but we're not sticking around to find out," I said, pulling her to our feet. We returned to the car as quickly as possible, the sense of being watched never leaving us. As we drove away, I glanced back at the forest. The trees stood tall and silent, their secrets hidden once more. We never spoke about what happened that day, but I knew we both felt the same. Something in those woods was watching, waiting, and we had narrowly escaped its grasp. From that day on, the Whispering Pines of North Carolina held a new, sinister meaning for me. It was a place where the line between reality and supernatural blurred, where the past lingered and whispered its dark secrets to those who dared to listen, and I, for one, would never set foot there again.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another amazing story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller. He's got thousands of stories just like that from over the years. It's that time of the night for us to head to the UFO report. Here comes little Timmy James.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Howdy, Tim James. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Howdy, Dave.
Howdy.
Howdy.
What's happening, my man?
Well, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
You know what happened today?
No.
I actually was in town.
Yes.
And a guy I know named Brandon. in town
Mm-hmm.
came up to me and he's like, dude, like, you know, we're doing all the small talk.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it clicked in that I'm the town weirdo. And he goes, dude, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He goes, I filmed a UFO the other day.
No way.
And so he showed me this video on the phone
Mm-hmm.
of this strange strobing light in the sky. It was stationary.
Oh, okay.
And then it would change its strobe, you know, because it was going flash, flash, flash.
Yeah.
And then it started going flash, 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 flash. And he didn't catch it on camera, the part where it was actually moving.
No, okay.
He's like, this wasn't a star, man. This wasn't a star. And it coincided with some of that military training that's been happening around here recently with the loud aircraft flying by.
Yeah. I've heard that the last couple of days.
I have not.
No,
I have not. When I sleep, man, I don't hear a thing.
Yeah, it was
and I sleep with the window open.
Yeah, so do I.
And the airport is like
up the hill,
3/4 of a mile behind me.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but yeah, he caught it at like 5 a.m.
Down here, or up in somewhere else, or
he caught it in town, right in the middle of town.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, those planes have been flying over at night, and they're that sounds like you're in Richmond. In being just like, whoa,
I love it.
Yeah, very loud.
Oh, I love the military aircraft.
Yes, sir.
Love them so much because there is a training facility
Mm-hmm.
that allegedly is not there.
That's right.
Right by Gang Ranch, where
it's not there.
You know what's very interesting about that area? That's where many of the ranchers claim to have cattle mutilations.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. But,
right?
Yeah, but there's no military base or any training places up there.
No,
not at all.
It's weird though, because some of the maps will actually show the training facility and others won't.
Huh. Guess they didn't get the memo.
Well, I don't know, but I know somebody who's trained there.
Oh, okay.
One of my sources has trained there before.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting part about that is, allegedly in certain parts of that area, compasses do not work. And when they send the soldiers in there for training,
right,
they have one of their training methods is they have to find their way through the area to get back.
Right.
So they'll hop out on helicopter, then they have to find their way back.
And the compasses don't work. I think you and I need to go for a wander.
Yeah. Well, once again, we're at that time of year where we're about to be delayed for a few months.
Yeah. I'm thinking isn't going to take long. Yeah.
So big anniversary in the UFO world.
Most certainly is. Yeah. It was 49 years ago today that the Travis Walton incident happened, where the controversial story of Travis Walton and his abduction from leaving a logging camp and heading home or heading out with the boys. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how many people have heard of the story or what have you, but yeah, I had to read it again today to refresh my brain, and there's so many twists and turns in it. So basically, this happened in 1975 this week. So Travis Walton, at 22 years old, was a member of a 7-person forestry crew led by Michael Rogers, who was 28. The year prior, Rogers had won a bid for a federal contract to thin out small trees from an area known as Turkey Springs in the Apache Sitgraves National Forest. When he underbid 2 other contractors, the Turkey Springs job called for the thinning of 1,277 acres by August of 1975. Rogers requested and was granted an extension until November 10th of that year. So on the 16th of October, a Forest Service inspector visited the site and concluded the job could not be possibly completed by the deadline. Failure to complete the job could lead to a $2,500 penalty and a disqualification from bidding on future forestry service contracts. That was a lot of money back in 1975. So On October 20th, Rogers wrote to his Forestry Service contract officer, "I cannot honestly say whether or not we will finish on time. However, we are working every day with as much manpower as I can hire. I will not stop work until the job is finished or until I am asked to stop. I have a considerable trouble keeping a full crew on the job. The area is very thick and the guys have poor morale because of this. We will keep working and trying hard." So that same night, that Rogers wrote the letter, NBC aired the primetime special, The UFO Incident, and it was a made-for-TV movie about the alleged abduction of Barney Hill, who had undergone a hypnosis session with a psychiatrist in 1964, after which he reported recollection of alien abduction. So the film aired 2 weeks before Travis Walton's UFO incident, prompting suggestions that the film inspired Rogers and Walton to concoct their own alleged abduction story. Skeptics argued that after viewing this movie, any person with a little imagination could now become an instant celebrity by claiming an abduction. One of those instant celebrities, allegedly, was Travis Walton. According to researcher Philip Klass, shortly before his disappearance, Travis told his mother not to worry if he were ever abducted by aliens, because he would return safe and sound. So this is what happened. On November 5th, 1975, crew chief Michael Rogers reported Travis Walton missing to the Navajo County Sheriff. 6 members of the crew claimed that they were driving down the forest road when they saw a lit object above the ground near the roadway. They reported that Walton got out of the truck, ran towards the object, which shone a light on him. They said that they drove away in fear, only to return 15 minutes later to find both Walton and the light missing. So at 7:45, a member of the logging crew called Officer Ellison, Sheriff Marlon Gillespie, and Deputy Kenneth Copeland drove to Heber to meet with the loggers. Rogers and the 2 crew members agreed to return to Turkey Springs with the 3 officers, while the other 3 crew members refused to return and instead drove home in Rogers' vehicle. The 5 men searched Turkey Springs until shortly after midnight, when Sheriff Gillespie paused the search until the morning. So around 1:30 a.m., Deputy Sheriff Kenneth Copeland and Rogers visited Walton's mother. According to Copeland, when he informed her of the disappearance, she said, "Well, that's the way things happen." Copeland said he was shocked by how calmly she took the news and her general lack of surprise. So the following day, a search party of nearly 50 people scoured the Turkey Springs area, but failed to find Travis and any sign of an altercation. Law enforcement was surprised when, after a few hours, Travis's mother told them, "I don't think there's any use in looking any further. He's not around here. I don't think he's on this earth." Sheriff Gillespie then dismissed the volunteers. However, the following morning, Rogers and Dwayne Walton, who is Travis's older brother, complained in person about the discontinued search. As a result, Sheriff Gillespie reassembled another search party, which included a helicopter. So all the papers in the region were covering this story. And basically, a member of the Phoenix-based UFO interest group recorded a 65-minute interview with crew chief Mike Rogers and Travis's older brother, Dwayne. At no point during the interview did either express any fear or concern for Travis. Rather, they expressed confidence that Travis would be returned. During the interview, Rogers discussed the forestry contract, saying, "The contract we have is seriously behind schedule. In fact, Monday, the time is up. We haven't done any work on it since Wednesday because of this thing, and therefore it won't be done. I hope they take that into account." So what happened on the 12th, November 12th, shortly after midnight, Walton placed a collect call to his sister at home from a payphone in Hebert, Arizona. He reached her husband, Grant, who then drove to pick up Dwayne and proceeded to Heber to pick up Travis. Neff later reported he initially thought that Travis was intoxicated. As part of the collect call procedure, obviously, Travis told the operator his name. She recognized his name and as that of the missing man and alerted the Sheriff Gillespie, who dispatched the deputy to the family ranch house. So Deputy Glenn Flake arrived at the ranch house at 2 a.m., where he witnessed Dwayne Walton transferring fuel from one car to another, having forgotten to purchase gas before local stations closed. Flake did not reveal that he knew Travis had returned home, and Dwayne did not tell the deputy that Travis had been found. So it goes on to where they wouldn't talk about any of the police. They wouldn't give him any stories. They wouldn't allow him to interview. They wouldn't allow him to record. They wouldn't allow him to do anything. But the National Enquirer appeared and said, hey, we'll put you up at one of the hotels if you give us an exclusive. And if it's the best story, of the year for UFO stuff, we'll give you $5,000. So they met. They did the story. They got the $5,000, and they passed it out to the rest of the crew that was there with them that night. So they split it up. So Walton said that what had happened is he'd gone there. As soon as he got to the light sucked him up. He kind of went unconscious. When he got on board of the spacecraft, there was 3 humans, and he was trying to fight them off. And another human came along and put a plastic bag on his head, walked him away and put a plastic bag on his head. The next thing he knows, it's 5 days later, and he's walking down some street towards a gas station with a UFO taken off above it and leaving. So a lot of speculation, a lot of shenanigans, and that sort of stuff going on there. It's funny, because he totally failed a lie detector test, right? Completely failed the lie detector test. The first one he wouldn't take, and then he took an independent one, and it was complete deception, is what they said, was this independent ufologist that gave him the lie detector test. So interesting story. Lots of speculation whether it was just because they needed the money because they weren't going to make the job, or did it really happen? And obviously the concern that mom and everybody else was like, oh, that's okay. That's fine. And yeah.
Do you believe it?
I don't know if I do. Let's just say I'm skeptical. I believe that I think they might have made up the story. It just seems so weird. Even the lie detector tests, right? They first thought that the guys in the crew had murdered them, right? So they gave them lie detector tests, and none of them except one was inconclusive out of the 6 guys that were there. But yeah, when Travis got to his lie detector test, it showed deep deception, I think was the quote that they said. So
he did that on a television show where, as we got about a minute to go here.
Yep.
I'm a believer, so I'm
cool.
I'm gonna combat you on this one.
Okay.
Yeah. He did the question that they hit him on, that they said he claimed deep deception.
Yeah.
Was that I believe he stumbled over his words, or he
was withholding his breath,
or something along those lines, thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what they called it. But going back to the originals of the crew, the one who was unknown whether or not he was telling the truth, when they took their lie detector tests, all the crew passed.
Yes.
Except for the one named Dallas, who had a criminal record, hated the police, thought that they were just setting them up to be charged with murder. I believe the story.
Okay.
I do. And I've met Travis once. I didn't get a long time to talk with him.
Sure.
But I think that this is one of those cases where the debunkers, when we talk about it a lot, basically the debunkers are armchair quarterbacks who weren't there.
Yeah.
And they look for those aha, caught you moments.
Right.
And this one, though, the way he was able to describe it, the way he has been able to build a lot of respect within the UFO community, because his story has never changed.
No, that's true. 100%. Yeah.
So right. I put a lot of faith in that.
Mm-hmm.
And in other people who have talked to him over the years who know him way better than I do.
Sure.
They are firm believers that
All right.
this is what's happened. I can see where you're going. They needed the money.
Yeah.
You know what? The debate will continue probably another 50 years. Spaced Out Radio's third final segment.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Excellent. Yeah, it's an interesting story. I
Now, Mike Rogers,
right.
he's pissed off.
Oh,
Okay, so a couple years ago,
yeah.
he went on Twitter rescinding his account of what happened.
Oh, yes.
Because he was pissed off that Travis continued to get all of the attention, and Mike especially Mike
Right.
never got any attention over it.
Okay. All
So
right.
he threw an online tantrum, and they had a good Facebook battle going
Uh-huh.
publicly for a while there.
Oh,
was good.
Interesting.
It was very good.
Yeah. It is funny because I mean if you look at it from the other side of it too, the debunkers and the people that were involved with on the other side of this, it was very convenient for that story to, make you go,
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
mm-hmm.
If you don't want to believe in something, there's a lot of ways to get around that or to support your side.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, because you're looking for any spelling mistake, any audio mistake.
True.
If they said the lights were really bright in one sentence, in the next interview they said the lights were bright. Well, you said
Right.
here it was really bright,
Yeah.
and now it's bright. Which one is it? They're looking for those, like I call them, and I hate this saying this, but aha, caught you moments.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll use anything. I get you. Yeah. No, it makes total sense.
Right. And so that's the issue I have with a lot of the debunkers. And, on a minor scale, if
Mhm.
Travis is up here, I'm going to use me as an example, way down here.
Right.
I look at all the times I've been accused of doctoring my stories because I want clicks, I want subscribers, I want everything. People are not going by the genuineness of the person. They've never met him. They've never talked to him. They've never seen the emotion
Yeah, it's
of the person.
two-dimensional. Right.
Right?
Yeah, I get it.
So I put there's a lot that if I'm going to debunk someone,
Right.
unless the evidence like ULPs
Right.
is very obvious,
Mm-hmm.
then I want to meet the person. I want to talk to them.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, because it's like texting. I mean, same idea. It's just two-dimensional, and you don't get all the dimensions. And yeah, you get a feel off of people too, right? So fair enough. Good point.
I think Moody Mongol hasn't eaten breakfast yet.
Why?
He keeps making Lucha Libre references to you and me.
Will it ever end?
Luna, in nearly 10 years of this topic of doing this show, never once have I got a Men in Black visit. Never once have I got the phone call. I did a few years ago get a very strange email. I think it may have been a setup. I know people who have got a call because of appearing on this show, people and sources that I trust. But no, never once have I got it. If you guys want to know if a podcaster or a YouTuber is full of crap, if they have like between 20 and 500 subscribers and they're going off that last time I talked about this, the Men in Black showed up at my house.
Yeah.
9.999999999999999 times out of 10, they're full of it. There's little triggers that I have noticed because with the size of our show and the length of our show and the people that we have talked to, including inside sources that I have,
Sure. Yeah.
that 100% would have happened to me.
You
And
would
it's never happened.
definitely think so.
Add to the fact that it's that time of the night to sit there and say hi there to all the agents and agencies out there in UFO land listening into us on Spaced Out Radio. Give us a call sometime. You already got the phone number. So we don't have to give it to you. Do me a favor. Give me that call. Let's have a little chatty poo. Remember, some of us can be bought.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. All right, buddy. We got about 17, 18 seconds here. Thank you to Area 53, Richard, T-Bone, Lee, and Search and Destroy ×2 for the super chats. Greatly appreciate it. Really, really do appreciate the love. Go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight it's a UFO report with Tim James coming up. My name is Dave Scott. I wear a lot of tinfoil, and sometimes I chase Sasquatch in the forest. That is my dating bio right there. Yeah. Want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tim James, I'm Dave Scott. This is a UFO report. Tim, I know you got a bunch of other stories here, but during the break, Luna asked a question. You ever get strange calls or emails or Men in Black visits, gang stalking due to your show and the topics you discuss? I answered that during the break, but I think it's interesting for the radio side either.
For sure.
10 years of doing this, well, coming up on 10 years, I've never had it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a little jealous. I hear these podcasts with 200 people, 300 people as subscribers, and they have black marked out SUVs parked in front of their house. They're followed down the highway. Men in black come knocking at their door. I'm jealous. I like to educate sometimes around here. And if you're into these topics and you hear a host telling you that, they're probably full of it. They're about 99.99% full of it. I've waited for that knock on the door or that special phone call for years. Now, I'm not saying they don't happen.
Right.
Okay. I know 3 people who have contacted me, just 3, who 2 of them have appeared on this show. 1 has not, who have got the phone call to say, we know you're talking to Dave Scott for the other 2 on Spaced Out Radio. Be careful what you say. 1 can no longer come on this show.
Oh.
And if our audience who's been on our YouTube channel for a while, I'm pretty sure you could figure out who that was. We called him Random Guy around here.
Oh, okay.
That has happened. That is true. I know from many people that there is a dossier of this show in the Pentagon. That is not made up. I've heard that from about 5 different sources who have ties to the Pentagon. That's kind of cool.
I was just going to say, that's really
I
cool.
always wonder if I swipe, would they swipe my passport at the border? If it says anything there, I always wonder. Because last time I went through the border,
Mhm.
or 2 times ago when I was going to the Bigfoot conference in Nebraska, lady asked me point blank. She goes, where's your destination? I'm like, I'm going to Nebraska. Why are you going there? I'm going to a Bigfoot conference. And she looks at me and she goes, really? I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh, you don't believe in that stuff, do you? I said, I do. And I've seen it. She's like, no. I said, would you like to see pictures of the footprints I've found? Absolutely. So she held back the line so I could show her Bigfoot prints on my phone.
Oh, that's awesome.
She was so into it. And that's a true story.
Yeah.
But I've never got the phone call. I've never got the knock on the door.
Hmm.
And here's the thing I want people to believe, because many people who follow this field are real conspiracy theorists.
Sure.
Okay. There's a lot of black SUVs out there.
Yep.
Okay. And if you check the models, whether it's Ford, Chrysler, GM,
Mhm.
Toyota, Nissan, whoever makes a big SUV,
Mhm.
the more luxurious the model, the more tinted the windows are.
True.
So if you see a black SUV with tinted out windows by your house, there's a good chance. Sure, it could be police.
Yeah.
Sure, if you live in maybe a shady area,
Mhm.
it could be a police vehicle. But it's not because you talked about a UFO sighting. They don't come knock on your door for the UFO sighting. The only time you get knocked on the door is if you were talking something pertinent that could involve top secret NDAs being potentially having their line skated across.
Uh-huh. Got it.
So no, there isn't a podcaster, a YouTuber, or anybody out there who claims this has happened to them that it's actually happened.
Interesting.
And I know people who could actually verify that.
Huh.
So there you go. I
Yeah.
thought that was important.
And that makes sense.
Okay, November 13th.
Uh-huh. So the Oversight and Accountability Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives has posted an official notice regarding the November 13th to 2024 hearing before the Cybersecurity and National Security Subcommittees titled UAP, Exposing the Truth. So they actually posted the Congress of the United States House of Representatives. Actually, I have a letter or a copy of the letter here, or the notice, I'm sorry. So joint subcommittee hearing notices, November 6, 2024 is when this came out, to the members of the Committee and Oversight and Accountability from James Comer, the chairman, Subcommittee in Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Government Innovation, and the Subcommittee on National Security, the Border and Foreign Affairs joint hearing titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon Exposing the Truth. So on Wednesday, November 13th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, the Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, Government Innovation, and so forth will be holding a joint hearing titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon Exposing the Truth. The hearing will convene at room 2154 of the Rayburn House office building. If any members would like to submit documents, exhibits, and other materials into the hearing record, they may submit them through the committee's electronic repository at the address. Members are encouraged to submit such materials at least 24 hours prior to the hearing, so they may be circulated to all members prior to the hearing. Submitting such materials after this period or during the hearing may delay both their distribution to the other members and their approval for entering the record. If you have any questions, call, so on and so forth. So I was like, cool. So we have confirmation. But Dave, who's the guests?
Well, what we're hearing, what I was able to find out,
Yeah.
we have Chris Mellon.
Yeah.
We have Tim Gallaudet,
Mm-hmm.
whose wife and daughter appeared on a paranormal television show
Right.
and claimed to be psychic, which I think is very truthful. I think it's
Sure.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
And dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun.
rumor is Lou Elizondo.
Oh.
I'm actually quite stunned by that.
Me as well.
If this turns out to be true, now I'm going by what sources have told me.
Mhm.
If this turns out to be true, I'm actually blown away.
Mm.
Or the people who have invited him have not seen or paid attention to the latest of his
Right.
antics with the ULP,
Right.
the unidentified lighting phenomena.
Yes.
So I think that's interesting.
Mm.
I'm curious to see if that's how it's going to play out. I'm more surprised that after that Elizondo would actually take them up on that. And
Yeah.
why has here's one of the questions I've always had.
Mhm.
And once again, this isn't a shot at Lou. I like
No.
Lou.
Yep.
Okay. But one of the questions that I've always had about this is a guy who allegedly ran the ATIP program.
Mhm.
And yet he has never testified to this point.
No.
You would think if I'm one running a congressional hearing, you would think that one of the first two people on my list would be the guy who allegedly ran the program at the Pentagon,
Sure.
number one, and number two would be the former Deputy Secretary of Defense who worked under two different presidents in that field, named Chris Mellon.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you not have them testify right off the bat? And instead, now you have all this controversy around Lou Elizondo, around his book, Imminent. You have major scientists who are involved in this field throwing him under the bus, left, right, and center, after he praised their efforts.
True.
In his book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. And is it to the point where Elizondo really doesn't have a choice because of Imminent coming out? I don't know. I don't know. If you were in his shoes, let's say you're Tim Elizondo.
Okay.
Tim Elizondo comes out, no neck, because Lou is built. He can lift. That man can lift. He does have the best chin hair in ufology. Let's be honest. Okay, but if you're Tim Elizondo, and you just had the biggest snafu of your public career, would you go testify?
I would be
take ego out of it.
Yeah. Take an ego out of it. I think I would be very, very tentative to do it. And I just because of embarrassment, just because personally, I'd be like, everybody, oh my gosh, my credibility's, well, I would think my credibility shot. But if I was Tim Elizondo and I had the same attitude as the other Elizondo, I would do it. I would definitely testify because everything that I've seen, everything I've read, everything I've heard of him in interviews and stuff, he's not going to back away. It always seems that he wants to push that he'd push that boulder up the hill. Well, he is pushing a boulder up a hill, right? Figuratively, whatever. But yeah, I think I would. I think I would be super nervous about doing it just because of what's recently transpired.
I don't know if I could, in good conscience, if I was Dave Elizondo.
Okay.
I don't know if I could, in good conscience, actually do that. I really don't.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know for a fact, 100%, people close to him were telling him to back off. And I think that's why we saw a couple of those dates for his public tour delayed. So if it does come down to him speaking at Congress, I talked to one person in his inner circle about it. And that person told me point blank, he goes, I don't know. Yeah. But if that is the case, I would not recommend it.
All right. Well,
If I was talking to Lou right now, I would not recommend that he do so, considering the controversy.
yeah, I guess. But I mean, it's funny because I obviously I've been doing some work for SOR, and running through the transcripts and the interviews that he did with you. I obviously I've watched them, but I'm reading through the transcripts and all that sort of stuff. I'm quite amazed at the push that it's always been positive and stuff like that. I don't know if this setback would stop him from testifying. I really don't, because everything I've seen up to that point has been him going, we're doing this. Right?
Many people will say he has no choice.
Right. Fair enough.
Okay. That has nothing to do with ego.
No.
It's that it's time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And let's also face it, those in Washington, D.C., like the politicians who are going to be conducting this, they're not up to date on the UFO story. They're not up to date on the UFO drama.
No, definitely not.
If I was Lou's lawyer, I would literally say maybe next time. I would give him that advice if I was Lou's lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay, but as for right now,
yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's move on here. We got 6 minutes.
All righty. So I guess obviously we know what happened last night, and that's all cool and stuff, but it was just kind of different. So because of the results of last night, a lot of speculation going around. Mark Rubio will likely chair the SSCI in January. He is a proponent of further investigation into UAP and if not outright disclosure. So that was interesting, and there was a bunch of stuff that there was going on there. A possible new Senate Majority Leader who is for disclosure remains to be seen, but with Leader McConnell stepping down from the leadership, and a new voice for disclosure is possible. And such a joint select committee on UAP is not guaranteed, but with a reinvigorated GOP that is very much against the deep state, such new church committees, blah, 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 would be primed to investigate what the DOD-IC knows about UAP concealment efforts. So except many on the UAP caucus, Tim Burchett, Jared Moskowitz, Anna Paulina Luna, and obviously the elected president, for more disclosure post-inauguration. Much can be done for the executive side to declassify the better UAP evidence. They exist and they should be declassified. So it was kind of funny because obviously everybody was caught up in the news last night, and there's a lot of everything about the election last night. But it was just, I kind of stumbled across that little thing, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah. So there's that question now. We know what the results are. Will this be a disclosure presidency? Will this not be a disclosure presidency? And, there's going to be some change in the guard, some change in some positions. Maybe, are we looking at something that's going to be a little more no nonsense, that's going to get to the bottom of it, or are we going to see the same thing?
We're going to see.
Yeah.
I don't believe Donald Trump will disclose.
Well, no.
I really do not believe that he will. Could I see him doing it? Yes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, but do I think he will?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe there is this secretive lock on the presidential nominees, on the candidates, on the president-elect position, and the presidential position, all in all, that do not allow them to discuss this topic publicly due to national security.
Right.
Now, Grant Cameron has stated that there is, when they get read into office,
sure,
especially a new president read in for the first time,
yeah,
they basically go through this employee handbook of what can and cannot be talked about.
Right.
And Trump being a little bit of a wild card, he may do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there may be reasons for him to do it. Do I think he will? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I don't see him doing it.
Yeah. True enough. True enough. I think Obama did it, tried it though at first, and then went to James whatever his name, Corden or whatever it was. And first of all, he denied it. And then he said, maybe there is. So who knows? It'll be interesting. Like I say, it was just a nice little piece. I was like, okay, cool. Maybe that'll shake some trees.
Might be. Paramar brings up a good point in the chat room. He says, on the other hand, Trump won't be running for office again.
No.
So he won't have to worry about the blowback. But I mean, if you break even a president has to sign an NDA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if he breaks that NDA, it doesn't mean that after his term, he may not face jail time.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know how that works.
Me either.
Okay. I really don't. But that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Time will tell, I suppose. But he made a couple of promises saying that, yeah, he'd like to. And, he talked some nice stuff or some good stuff. So who knows?
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I really don't think that it'll be him.
No.
Now, could it be whoever runs in 2028? Maybe.
Yeah, possibly, right?
Maybe. It could be.
You never know. Yeah, it's so up in the air and it's all speculative. And there's always lots of promises made by every single candidate on a campaign trail, right? So we shall find out.
We got about a minute and a half here before we have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're fading quick. You had a long day today.
Oh, I'm good. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking while I'm...
But as for the topic of UFOs,
yes,
we're going to see what happens on the 13th.
Yeah.
And let's see how tough Nancy Mace is when it comes to this conversation.
Truly.
We know Anna Paulina Luna has been very vocal on it. Christian Gillibrand and Marco Rubio have. We know Tim Burchett has, and many others. We're going to see how far they take this. If it's the same stories with the same videos with Mellon, Elizondo, and Gallaudet, just pull your hair out, people, because
already started.
Your frustration is going to continue. I don't expect anything to happen.
No.
I don't expect anything bombshell, because it's funny. You get all these so-called the UAPers.
Yes.
Okay, out there who claim that all of this big stuff is going to happen. And guess what? We get nothing every time. We'll get crumbs.
Yep.
But we're not getting the full patty with cheese on it. That's for sure.
Dang it.
All right, Tim, thank you for a great night.
Thank you.
On the UFO Report. Thank you to everybody for tuning us in tonight. We really do appreciate it. As we say, hello. Football. Rocking in the background with Little Brothers. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Streamer, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, #SpacedOutRadio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and S1 Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends,
make a mistake. We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Buffalo. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall fight again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for it. I had a a frog in my throat like the last 5 minutes.
Oh, of course you did.
Yeah.
That was funny because I was sitting there and then I was like, yeah, and my brain is talking and my mouth's not. I'm like, what are you?
Yeah, you weren't talking. I thought you were falling asleep there.
No, I'm sorry. I was like,
I'm
damn.
I'm like, Tim's falling asleep, everybody. Tim's falling asleep.
No, I just got that wandering brain for a second. I was like, okay, so if they put him in, you're doing you're making the plays up in your head. It's like, what are you doing?
We got to open up that window. I'm like breaking into a sweat.
Yeah, I'll get it.
It's like 400 degrees in here right now.
And I'm wearing a hoodie.
You're wearing a hoodie. Holy cow.
Yeah. Gotta get that thermostat fixed.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, come on. Holy cow. I'm dying in here, man. Like, seriously. Oh, open that further, man. Holy cow. Aerate this entire place. No, nobody sharded or anything like that. But cripes almighty.
Wow.
What's non-swear word did your mom or dad ever say? Usually mom.
My mom? No. Probably.
School bell.
Oh, holy, it's school time already?
For some reason, that bell goes off at around midnight every
What
night.
was it? My mom, oy vey was kind of her thing. And she wasn't even, she's Canadian. No, my mom did not hold her tongue. There was not really a non-swear word.
My mom was cripes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cripes almighty.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a famous philism.
Yeah. Oh no, my dad held his tongue way more than my mom did. Yeah. So dad would go, I didn't think like, damn, or what the hell. And he'd never say, he'd always just go, that's BS.
Yeah.
Until we got older. But yeah, my mom had no filter. She never dropped an F-bomb. But yeah, she...
Uh-huh. Jennifer, I did get your email about those pictures. I haven't had time to search fully through them at this point. I will get to that, I promise. At some point in my life. When I can breathe.
Well, I got the
Thank
window.
you for sending them.
Wow, that fresh air does wonders. Crap.
Oh, man.
Then it's got to be smoking in the house.
Oh, my God. It's like, come on. And I'm working with a mouse right now because I forgot to change the battery.
Oh.
So it's like really slow and not. I'm like, you son of a.
Not lickety split.
No lickety split.
Dang it.
You know when it gets sticky?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, that drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, T-Bone.
Lead up. What's it? Yeah, I guess this week the coast is supposed to just get hammered.
What's our weather for the weekend?
I think rain. Yeah, Saturday's supposed to be a ton of rain, man. Let me see. It's a long week. Well, yeah, long weekend up here. What do we got?
I'm really pissed off at this hunting season. That it's been beautiful all week.
I know.
And then it comes to the weekends and it's been pouring rain.
Yeah, true enough. I think it's nature's way of saying, hey, look, we lost a lot of the birds and stuff during the spring. So we're going to keep you out from harvesting what's out there. But yeah, so yeah, rain Friday, rain Saturday. Looks kind of okay Sunday, and then rain and snow Monday.
Wonderful.
It is.
Yeah. Because, you know, the last thing I want to do is go out in nature in nice weather.
Yeah. No, that'd suck.
We're still going out on Saturday night, though.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my official screw you to.
Yeah, to nature or to the gods of non-hunting.
No, it's my official screw you that my 0 F's to give.
Yeah.
From a certain historic society.
Yeah.
Yep.
No question. Yeah, we had a lot of people out for the last tour of the year.
Yep.
Gotta say, don't apologize for the hot chocolate and the apple cider. Just do better. That was so bad. Did you see that?
I thought they were having hot dogs, man.
So did I. No, it was hot chocolate, and please don't get me wrong. It was the effort and it was and the thought put behind it. But whoever decided to pursue that avenue, the apple cider was that stuff that's in the package, and it was like, yeah.
I don't drink apple cider. I've never liked apple cider.
Wow. Go to Barkerville at Christmas. I'll be doing that again this year. That's what we do for Christmas. I think it's the 14th and the 15th of December is their old-fashioned Christmas, sleigh rides and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, you go into one of the main houses up there, and the name escapes me right now, and they make it from scratch. Holy crap, is it ever good? And I'm not an apple cider guy either.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
You know what would make Barkerville better? Honestly.
Us to the ghost? No. What?
Because Barkerville is extremely similar to Virginia City.
Okay. I've never been, so I would take your word.
Virginia City is very active.
Mm.
It's got a lot of pubs in the original buildings.
That's cool.
It's got a nightlife. It's got a casino in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that Barkerville needs a casino.
Yeah.
Okay. But they could definitely gain more tourism and tourism revenue if they stopped being, lack of a better term here, Canadian.
Right.
And say, oh, well, we can't do that here.
Yeah.
Take some of those buildings, reinforce them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or build some non-type buildings.
Okay.
Non-historic buildings where you could, like they have the one bar there, the one saloon.
Yes.
Okay. If you want to create tourism revenue, when you have hundreds of people camping outside,
mm-hmm.
How about keeping that bar open?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
allow people to have the experience.
See, the in-town bar, like the saloon, that'd be killer. That would be a really, really good idea. The other thing is I like what you're saying, but don't disrupt the heart of Barkerville. Like if you developed some stuff around it, like, I mean, they got the campsites just south of it. They got Bowen Lakes.
You have to put it on.
Yeah, I don't know how well that'd go. I get where you're going, but I think that'd be like changing the national anthem or something, I think, for a lot of people.
No, I understand it. Maybe Barkerville's not the proper place for it.
Wells?
Well, Wells has the bar.
Yeah, but they could use a casino. Well, no, not really.
I don't know. I just think if you have all of those people there,
mm-hmm.
and in typical northern British Columbia, everybody goes to bed at 9:00.
Yeah, fair. Yeah,
okay.
True.
If you provided a lifestyle where people could sit around in a saloon at the heritage site,
mm-hmm.
okay. So what you do is you build. You don't have to. You got the original saloon there.
Yep.
You build another saloon because when you first walk into the park, there's no buildings there.
No, you've got to go up past.
But you could build a saloon on the parking lot side,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And have that atmosphere.
That'd be cool.
That's what I'm talking about.
Got it. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
You're already renting out a lot of the rooms in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So those people are supposed to go to bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. And then, well, they built the houses now, or houses. Yeah, I guess they're like chalets outside the on the, I guess, the south side of the parking lot now. So you can rent, I think there's 5 or 6 of them.
Well, I get that. Those
Yeah.
are expensive too.
No, I know, but it falls into what you're saying. So you've got that stuff out there. What do they do after 9 o'clock? The park's closed.
Yeah.
Right? No, I
It's
get where you're
dark
going.
there,
Yeah.
right? And during the summer, you're not allowed to have a fire.
No.
Right? I'm
No.
sorry. I'm not. If I go camping, like if I was a camper,
Mhm.
okay, or if I had a RV trailer or whatever,
Yep.
there is no way in hell I am staying at any place where I'm in bed at 9 o'clock.
No.
No way.
No.
And I realize I'm in the minority. I am a night owl.
Yeah. No, you are
Okay.
for sure. No, for sure.
But
I get it. No, you're right. And the other thing is, with the nice thing about having the RV is, yeah, that goes, you don't have to pay for camping anywhere. We stayed up there in July. We went up there for our anniversary, and in their campground there, that was cool. We had towed the trailer and everything. Oh, that was nice. But out here, like, we just hook up and off we go.
I get that.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. That would definitely bring some more dineros into the pocketbook of the Barkerville Historical Society for sure.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would do if I was them, I would hire paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
I would find some people that I trust
Mhm.
who could train people
Sure.
to do the tour.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would be doing paranormal investigations there on weekends
Mhm.
to raise money.
And the other thing is, I just remembered they've got an airport right there that's not used. There's an airport south of town, like maybe 2 miles, not even 2 miles.
Mhm.
So yeah, you could be flying people in. Gee.
Yeah. But the problem is they have a lot of people crying about the heritage.
Yeah.
And I get that.
So do I.
I can appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If the people are there, they will spend money.
You darn right they will.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Agreed.
All right, everybody. Tomorrow night on the show, Dan Baldwin is going to join us, bridging the spirit and physical worlds. Dan wears a good cowboy hat.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he'll have it on for tomorrow night's show.
Sweet.
Big thank you tonight to Search and Destroy with a hat trick, Major Lee, T-Bone, Richard, and Area 53 for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support, everybody. And we will see you all tomorrow night. Have a good one.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.